Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Yale. Derek Yale.
No frontin', can't talk cause I'm up to something now. I'm up to something, let it be no frontin'.
We feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions, and this panel comes with different styles in discussing national issues.
I'm up to something now. I'm up to something.
If you are living a glass hot, don't throw stone.
No frontin', can't talk cause I'm up to something now. I'm up to something.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And I'm here with my co-host, Mr. David Tucker. My name is Derek Yale, and I will be playing host tonight. Mr. David Tucker, good evening, and welcome again to another episode.
Good morning, Derek.
Yes, it's good morning on your side. Anyways, guys, if
Yeah.
you're just joining us, please do us a favor and share this program on your Facebook page, and make sure you follow the network as well. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And as you know, the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or LRTN for short, is a media institution right here in Northeast Philadelphia, and we also have our office in Liberia where we do work both in Liberia and the diaspora. The LRTN family is proud tonight to present episode 7 of season 4 of the Horizon. And again, guys, just to give you a heads up on what to expect on this show tonight, we will bring you our current event as always from Liberia. And in our current event tonight, we will be featuring a special guest to talk to us about the Lucas Riches and Jessica Lloyd incident that occurred a couple of weeks ago. And also coming up on the show, we will be having our panelists who we will introduce very shortly, and to talk about the elections results that were just announced by the National Elections Commission. And after that, we will bring you our famous segment, that is the icebreaker round, and then after which we will bring you the final remarks from our panelists, and then we will close this program. But as always, guys, we'd like to encourage you to please follow this network, and also make sure to share this program so that you, friends, and family may be able to benefit from what we have in store tonight. Again, this is the Hard Zone, and this is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And to not waste any further time, let me go right over to Mr. Takwe so he can bring us the current event from Liberia. Mr. Takwe.
Thank you, Derek, and good morning, everyone, or good evening, wherever you are. Just a leaked video people are talking about. In that leaked video, it's reported that officials of the Unity Party are heard talking about the prosecution of Nimba County Senator Prince Johnson, who is also a staunch supporter of Joseph Boakai during these elections. And so it's being talked about whether it's true or not, but it's something that people are talking about in Monrovia or some other parts of the country. And there's also the list out of people believed to be cabinet members of the UP government, though the UP has not been declared the winner of the elections. But there is a list that is out. In fact, that list has gone viral. That those names are members of Joseph Nyema Boakai's cabinet if he does win the elections. But the UP has issued a statement denying all these claims about discussions about prosecuting Prince Johnson for war crimes if the Unity Party does win the elections or Joseph Boakai does win. The UP calls that reported video or leaked video propaganda by its opponents. Similarly, with the names of members of the cabinet or proposed members of the names of the cabinet, the UP has also denied that all these reports about leaked audio or videos or leaked list of members of Joseph Boakai cabinet, they are all propaganda by its opponents. From all indications, Derek and others, it is likely that Joseph Boakai and George Weah of the CDC will go into a run of elections because both of them so far have failed to get the 50 plus 1 vote to be declared winner of the 2023, the October 10, 2023 presidential elections. As we speak, George Weah has a percentage of 43.84%, and Joseph Boakai stands at 43.34%, if I'm not mistaken, if I can recall that quite vividly. So it is likely that the both parties or the both presidential candidates will be going into a round of elections we understand will be on the 7th of November 2023. The National Elections Commission has not officially declared a runoff yet, but analysts and observers or political pundits are suggesting that a runoff election is imminent from all indications. CDC, the CDC has lost a lot of its lawmakers from the legislature, meaning merely some of its flow fighters, like Akaras Moses Gray, Solomon Josh, Buffer Chambers, and many others. The CDC, they've all lost their seats in the national legislature. And it's another thing that people are talking about. And guess what? The elections brought about a lot of surprises. There are others who voted for President Weah on the CDC's ticket, but yet voted against lawmakers or candidates, representative or senatorial candidates on the CDC ticket. Seditians voted against these people, but voted for George Weah. It also happened in the Unity Party. People voted for Joseph Boakai, but voted against Joseph Boakai's representative and senatorial candidates. So the elections brought a lot of surprises. As we speak, the Deputy Director General of the National Security Agency, Sam Sion, is in trouble with the armed forces of Liberia. We are hearing reports that he even been arrested and in the custody of the AFL. It all started when a fellow on the Freedom FM that he owns, that the Sam Sion man owns, let me name him, is Abraham Gosson, who is one of the talk show hosts on the Freedom FM. And he made a wild allegation against the Chief of Staff of Armed Forces of Liberia, Prince C. Johnson, that the Chief of Staff is decommissioning soldiers of the AFL who are not supportive of President George Weah presidency or re-election. And so he also said the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia is a pro-Joseph Boakai or a pro-Unity Party person. And so he decommissioning soldiers who are not supportive of Joseph Boakai's election as president of Liberia, next president of Liberia, and as supporting George Weah. But the Armed Forces of Liberia has reacted and said, it's a blatant lie. The first thing is that they said the journalist doesn't understand how the Armed Forces of Liberia works. It is the president of the Republic of Liberia that commissions soldiers of the Armed Forces of Liberia. And he is the president that also decommissions. The president commissions and decommissions. So the the chief of staff of the armed forces of Liberia doesn't have the power to decommission any member of the armed forces of Liberia. And that is the argument of the AFL and their reaction. And so as we speak, it's reported that Sam Sion is banned in prison as a result of the allegation made by his talk show host or Mr. Abraham Wion on the Sam Sion's radio station. Finally, Derek, in Grand Cape County, police are now investigating 4 persons. These 4 persons were arrested on allegation that they were manipulating votes in favor of some candidates during the elections. These 4 persons were all staff or temporary staff of the National Elections Commission, and they were both manipulating votes in favor of a particular candidate or in favor of some of the candidates. So as we speak, they are undergoing investigation with the Liberia National Police. So Derek, those are so far the trending developments from Liberia.
And thank you very much, David, for always coming through on bringing the developments or current events coming out of Liberia. And guys, if you're watching us before we transition over to the current event coming out of the diaspora, I would like to encourage you to please share this program on your Facebook page and make sure you current friends and family to follow this network. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or LRTN for short. Now, to bring you the current events here, we have 2 current events in our folder. One is the first one is President Joe Biden visits to Israel following Hamas terrorist attack. So yesterday, the 18th of October 2023, the President of the United States, President Joe Biden, traveled to Israel to stand in solidarity with the people of Israel in the wake of a horrific terrorist attack by Hamas that killed more than 1,300 innocent civilians, including at least 31 U.S. citizens. As President Biden made clear during the trip, Israel is not alone, and with U.S. support, it will remain a safe, security, Jewish, and democratic state today, tomorrow, and forever. In response to President Biden's visit, the president of Israel had the following to say. The president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, had the following to say in response to President Biden's visit. He said, "Your visit to Israel today, Mr. President, is an expression of the steadfast commitment of the United States to the security of the state of Israel. I thank you, your administration, and all the American people for your deep friendship and for standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel in this vital battle to defeat terror." Now, moving on to the next current event from the diaspora, we actually have a special guest. But before we bring on our special guest, I would like to bring back to your attention a development coming out of Liberia that involved an American missionary named Lucas Richard and his attempted murder on the lives of a Liberian woman named Jessica. Let me get the full name. I'm sorry, Jessica Lloyd. That's her name. So, an attempted murder on Jessica Lloyd. Well, in light of that development here in the United States, or in Iowa State specifically, a group of Liberians or immigrants gathered to demand justice for Jessica. And they had to sit down with the church here in the United States. But we have our special guest here tonight that will actually talk more on that and other things. So let me have our special guest now on the screen, and then we can begin our conversation with him. Good evening, Mr. Melvin Johnson, and let me take this time now to welcome you to the LRTN family and also to the house. So welcome.
Thank you. I praise God for the privilege to be alive and to be a part of this cause. Thank you to all of you who do this very important work, serving our people. Thank you. I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Melvin. And this is David Tarkwe. I play host. He's the co-host out of Liberia. And as we just introduced to our audience, you're here to talk about the development that involved Jessica Lloyd and Lucas Richard. But let me give you the opportunity to tell us your mission here today and what you hope to accomplish, and then we can follow up with the questions we have. But before I do that, let me encourage our audience to please follow this network, to please share this program. And this is a special interview with Mr. Melvin Johnson. Let me leave it to you now, Mr. Melvin.
And David, let Mr. Johnson tell us a little bit about himself, his background.
Yes. Let's start. Let's start with that.
In which capacity is he about to discuss this matter?
Thank you, David. Mr. Johnson. Yeah, thank you again to both of you. In terms of background, I'm very proudly a Liberian, born and raised. I was born in Bummy Hills. I grew up, the family moved me from Bummy Hills to the great city, the great metropolis of Lakwasi, St. Paul. So I'm a proud product of St. Paul. I spent my formative years there. I was schooled there at the government elementary school. And thereafter, I matriculated and went on to the next government school, which was Demonstration, Kim Johnson Row and Clay Street. Thereafter, I was blessed to move on to Virginia, Liberia at Ricks Institute. And so I was schooled and educated there for a while in high school. And right before I completed my secondary education, my high school, my family brought me here to the U.S. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here since high school, where I'm physically sitting. In my home office is where the same area, the same county where I finished high school. I attended the local university. I did from undergrad all the way to a doctorate degree in law here. And so this is home for me. I love the Atlanta area. In terms of what I want to share tonight, I want to kind of give some background about the story that'll kind of make it easier, I think, for the listening and viewing audience to understand and get some context.
All right, then, Mr. Johnson, thank you very much. Before you do that, let me first introduce our panelists for the night, and then we take a break. When we come back, then you can get into talking to us about what you have.
Sure.
So, guys, the team of panelists I have with me tonight is, as you can see on the screen, Bishop Haggard, Mr. Darwinkin Weir, Lord Choppy Charlie. So let me start with you, Bishop Haggard. Welcome to another episode of the Hard Zone.
Yes, thank you very much. God bless you, man.
Thank you very much, Mr. Darwinkin Weir. You're muted.
I think it's the control. Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, David, Mr. Johnson, the Bishop, and Blodge. Let's go for it.
Thank you very much. Blodge Choppy Charlie, are you with us? Welcome. Well, we'll get back with Blodge after the break. But guys, as you can see, we have Mr. Melvin Johnson here, the special interview with him in relation to the Jessica Lloyd and Lucas Richard development. So he has his mission, and after the break, we will hear from him. But for now, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we'll get ready. Mr. Johnson. Blodge Choppy Charlie, are you with us? You're muted.
I'm muted.
Go ahead.
You're
good.
You hear me now?
Oh no. My audio is kind of bad up. I don't know what's going on. It's raining down here where I am right now, so I'm having a little audio problem.
We can
hear you.
We're hearing you fine. You're good.
Yeah. So let me say welcome to everybody, and it's always good to be here.
Thank you very much, Blodge Choppy Charlie. But for now, guys, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will get right into our discussion with Mr. Johnson.
Maintaining your vehicle can be a major investment. That's why here at Brothers Auto Care, we pride ourselves on providing professional and reliable auto care at affordable rates. Whether you need an inspection, new brakes, or diagnostic reports, our skillful and experienced mechanics are here for you every step of the way. Call Brothers Auto Care now to schedule your next auto maintenance and repair service. At Brothers Auto Care, we help you drive home with peace of mind.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network, bringing you episode 7, season 4 of The Horizon. I am playing host tonight. My name is Derek Yale, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. David Takwe. And I'm here with a team of panelists, Bishop Haggard, Mr. Jai Winkin, Wea, and Blow Chubby Charlie. And we have our special guest tonight, Mr. Melvin Johnson, to talk to us about the development out of Liberia that came out of Liberia a few weeks ago that involved a Liberian woman named Jessica Lloyd and an attempted murder on her life by an American missionary in Liberia as well, Lucas Richards. But let me go over now to Mr. Melvin Johnson so he can tell us why he's with us tonight. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And so the story started, unfortunately, on September 14th last month when Mr. Lucas attempted to murder, thank God, unsuccessfully, Jessica. We're told that 2 bystanders who witnessed what he was doing, they intervened and they stopped him. From there, he was taken to a nearby police station. And while at the station, Mr. Lucas attempted to preempt what he determined was going to happen to him. He called his wife, who lived there locally with him in Liberia, with whom he lived. He called her and told her a lie. He told her a different story. He told her he had been robbed and he was at the police station and he felt he was being hustled. In essence, you know how things are done in Liberia. This wife, innocent, also was deceived. She accepted the lie. Understandably, she started calling contacts in the U.S. to let them know what had happened to her husband. And these contacts contacted a church among many other people. They contacted a church that is based in Iowa. And they shared with this church what is going on. This church has a relationship to the Lucas. They sponsored the mission there in Liberia where the Lucas work, both husband and wife, and 27 other people, other Liberians. So when this church received this information, the church published this information on their website, requesting prayers and so forth for Lucas. Many Liberians in Iowa, in fact, there are a few Liberians that attend this church as well. And so fortunately, Jessica's mother, Cynthia Lloyd, took to the social media to tell the truth about what happened, myself included, and many Liberians all over the world. We heard that story, and of course, we were very angry as to what had transpired. Our anger rose to a whole nother level when we came across the posting of the church regarding Lucas. And so myself included, many others immediately began contacting the church to see what was going on. Why were they publishing what they were publishing in light of the truth that we knew? And so again, the incident happened on the 14th of September. The church published this information on their website on the 15th of September. Many people started calling immediately thereafter. It took a few days to get all the schedules, meaning the local Liberian pastors, the local association there, Friends of Liberia, all people who were interested in wanting to get to the bottom of this. It took a few days to comport all of the schedules, and eventually on the 19th of September, all of those parties gathered in one room to discuss the matter. The church on that date and at that meeting explained to everybody present how they got the information and why they posted it on their website. They explained that, of course, as a church, as a people of faith, this is something they do in terms of requesting prayers for members and consolation for members. This is something they do regularly. They explained that, for example, if they get a call to say, hey, Mary has been in an accident, she's in the hospital, They don't say we need to see the police report first. We need to see the medical records first before we publish and ask people to pray and look out for Mary. They said this is what we do all the time, but we're very sorry if anybody was offended by this, but this is how we got the information and that's why we posted it. Is there anything we can do in light of how we too were misled to publish this information? So essentially that was the position, that was the posture of the church at that meeting. Unfortunately, there were many, many very angry, very disgruntled, very conspiracy theory driven Liberian at the meeting. They said they did not believe the church, even though they had no other information. They felt the church was lying, the church was hiding something. They began to say, how do we know that you guys are not working with Lucas? He hasn't killed many of our people. How do we know they're not dead bodies that he buried, that he's hiding? How do we know you guys are not working to sneak Lucas out of the country? We want you all to guarantee that if he ever comes to America, you guys will extradite him. And so the church began to explain, we are merely a church with a congregant size of about 130 or so people. Yes, we've been in existence since 1914, but extradition and things of that nature that you're talking and accusing us of, it's far beyond our capabilities. The local Liberian pastors who were part of the meeting, after understanding the church's position, they began to tell the disgruntled group that, listen, we understand where the church is coming from. We too have churches. And just because one of the members in our church goes out, drinks, and harms somebody or beats his children, gets in trouble, it doesn't mean the church should be responsible. People make independent decisions. And so we should understand where the church is coming from. We should not accuse them. Because these pastors took this position, the disgruntled group started insulting and accusing the pastors of having received money under the table. That's why they were back in the church and so forth. The local Liberian Association leadership, they attempted to step in as well to say, no, as a people, we should not do this. Let's be reasonable. And so they also became subject to the insults, the accusations, the conspiracy theories, and so forth. Very long story short, this meeting quickly became very unproductive, and it ended without any fruitfulness or resolution in chaos. And that was on the 19th. Yes, that was on the 19th of September. So the incident happened on the 14th. The posting from the church was published on the 15th. This disgruntled, unfruitful meeting occurred on the 19th. On the 23rd, a few days later, my lovely wife was on the phone with a sister who lives in Iowa. Being a Liberian herself, we discussed current events affecting our people, even though we're not home right now. And among their discussion, this issue came up, and my wife learned that this sister with whom she was speaking was actually one of the attendees in this meeting that was unfruitful. And the sister began to explain what I've just explained to you. My wife says, oh, hold on, let me get my husband. He needs to hear this. And so my wife brought me in the conversation. During that conversation, I've learned all the details as I've shared with you. And when I pondered it, I told the sister, my wife and I agreed that we should not, as Liberians, as brothers and sisters in Christ, we should not permit the situation to end as it is. We are a better people than that. Additionally, this church is supporting a mission that employs 29 people. Lucas and his wife were 2 of the 29 people. This church is supporting a school that is educating over 200 of our children. This church has a clinic locally they're also supporting that is providing much needed prenatal care and medication for our pregnant sisters, mothers, daughters, etc., as well as the community. This church additionally is supporting a church that is doing what they can to empty out hell and fill heaven with our people. And so understanding the totality of the involvement of this church, my wife and I decided we should not let this end as it is. And so we began to inquire as to the other stakeholders that were in this meeting that were of like mind, meaning the non-disgruntled group, that we wanted to get in touch with them to see if we could get back to the table with the church, especially in light of the church explanation of why they did what they did, especially in light of the church's position of apology and their posture and interest to see what they can do for whatever harm they had caused, and most especially because the church was supporting all of these efforts. We deduced that Lucas was in jail. It was only a matter of time. More than likely, Lucas's wife had already left Liberia. You can understand a woman there without a husband by herself in a foreign country where the people are angry at the husband for what he did. She would feel unsafe. And therefore, because Lucas and his wife were the top administrators of this mission in Liberia, who would the church deal with? They were used to dealing with these people. The church likely would start to feel discomfort, and that would lead to them pulling out of the mission work in Liberia, which means 200 of our future leaders would not have education. Many of our daughters, mothers and sisters that need vital prenatal care and medication would not receive it, as well as, the other sick people. And so all of these reasons, we decided, let's pull the stakeholders together and eventually let's get to this church and let's get back to the table and see how we can turn this very unfortunate situation into something positive. Also, we felt that we needed to contact Jessica and her family to let them know this vision we had, this dream we had, to see where they stood in all of this. And so I had my work cut out for me. I got on the phone and many phone calls trying to get all these pastors, community leaders, the church in question, friends of Liberia. And I contacted Miss Cynthia Lloyd, Jessica's mother. I introduced myself and shared with her the vision that we had. She was, of course, very grateful. Understandably, she expressed her gratitude that she was thrilled and praised God for the fact that there are Liberians, there are people around the world that are thinking about her and thinking about her daughter in light of what they're going through. Jessica and mom and dad are still together. The dad name is Mr. Andrew Lloyd. The mother name is Miss Cynthia Lloyd. They have 2 children together. The kids are twins. Jessica is a twin. There's Jessica and Jesse. And so in light of all of this, we began this effort that has now culminated into this rally that is being held this Sunday, October 22nd, there at this church that has been central in all of this. We're calling it a unity rally, service, praise, and fundraiser. We're trying to unite the different communities. Number one, we're trying to encourage this church to not pull their services and funding out of our country. We're trying to encourage this church to encourage other churches that heard about the news that may have been considering pulling out of Liberia as well. And we're trying to raise much needed funding for the family, those affected, especially Jessica.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Let me let you finish.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, summary form, that's why I'm here. There's other pieces to it, but I will let you ask me questions accordingly.
Thank you very much. And let me recognize the presence of Councilor Freeman. Councilor Freeman, welcome to another episode of The Hard Zone. And we have here with us Mr. Melvin Johnson. And welcome, Mr. Freeman. Anyways, Mr. Johnson, before I into Bishop Hagar and Mr. Weir and also David, if you guys have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll recognize you for Mr. Johnson if you have any question for him. But let me ask you a question though. You explain a lot, and just for the sake of our audience, who are you advocating for here, and what is your primary objective? What do you hope to get out of the work you're doing right now?
Well, the work I'm doing with many people, as I mentioned. They're pastors. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, that's where I live by God's grace with my family. There are pastors that are on ground. There are community leaders that are on ground. There is this church, this congregation of, as I said, about 100, 135 or so people that are on ground, and they're friends of Liberia that are on ground. So all of these people, myself included, we're all working together to bring unity, bring reconciliation to this situation. We're all working together to convince and encourage this church and other churches in the area and around the nation with which this church is affiliated to not pull their funding out of Liberia. And we're all getting together to raise funds to help out this family, Jessica, and so forth.
Thank you. And speaking of Jessica, how is she? Like, how's her health? Because can you talk to us about Jessica?
Yeah, she's not doing well, to put it bluntly. The incident happened on September 14th. Today is October 19th. So we're a month and a week past the incident, plus or minus. The last time I heard, speaking to Jessica's mom, relaying to me Jessica's condition, she received a blunt force trauma to her head. I think Lucas reportedly used a brick or wood or something of that nature to first hit her over the head and then move forward to try to slit her throat. And so that blunt force trauma, the medical reports coming out of Liberia say that they see a lot of blood clot visibly on her brain. We understand that it's causing her to not hold down and eat solid food. So the family has to find juices and soft food and things of that nature. Her speech is not there. Her motor skill is not totally there either. And so to put it bluntly, for a 21-year-old, for an otherwise vibrant 21-year-old, a month and a week after enduring this, to be under this condition, it'll be my conclusion that she's
FM mode, Bluetooth mode.
I'm sorry about that. Anyways, just to and to you, those of you watching us, and to add to Mr. Johnson's story here, we had our reporter today sat with Jessica's mother to give us an update on Jessica's health, and we have that video for you. So I'll ask my production team now if they have the video handy to play the video.
How is Jessica health?
Jessica's because according to the doctor report for JFK, he said Jessica had blood on her brain. Small blood on her brain. So I don't know what I was doing. Another test on the again. They said Jessica had blood on her brain. And Jessica having to get pregnant in the future. To go to the hospital at the early stage. Don't know what that is. The better is in the right position. And it's one of her kidney twists.
Because of what happened?
Yes. One of her kidney twists. So I appealed to the lab USA America. I appreciate it so much for what they are doing for me. I appreciate it. But in Liberia speaking, because I get money. If our money were more, you will see money on the street. It's Jessica friends or schoolmates. They are the one that doing all the protests around here in Liberia, America. Happy also. I want to say thank you to them. I will not blame the church. I will not blame Chris because the way he presented himself to me, I see when he presented himself to the church, make the people to believe he was a Christian and he was supporting a missionary according to them. So I want a church, Christian church.
Thank you very much. And back to you, Mr. Johnson. You heard from Jessica's mother, and I'm hearing a feedback. One of the concerns that she raised in and she said that because she doesn't have money, she feels like no one gonna hear her or talk for her and what have you. Now you mentioned the rally at the church here in America in Iowa, and I read an article that one of their claim was that they were asking for accountability. They were asking for justice to be served. They were asking to keep the story alive so that Jessica can get the proper medical treatment. Now, in your work now, how are you going to ensure that all of these things happen, that the church played its role in ensuring that justice be served in the case for Jessica, and the church play its role in ensuring that Jessica get the proper medical treatment? How are you going to make sure of that?
Yeah, respectfully, I don't think the church has a responsibility or role to play in ensuring justice in our justice system across the Atlantic Ocean in Liberia. This church of 130 congregation member, I don't think they have a responsibility or role to ensure that our Justice Department do what they're supposed to do under the law. Additionally, I don't think this church has a responsibility or role to play to ensure that Jessica gets the right treatment at our medical facility with our healthcare providers in our country in Liberia. Now, I think this church has been apologetic. I think they've been forthcoming. I think they've been honest. I think they've been generous. They have told all of their congregants that after their regular Sunday morning service to come back, and all the collections, the tithe, the offerings for that day will be donated to this purpose. They've helped to spread the word among many, many sister churches there in the Iowa area. I understand they're part of a group of 50 non-Liberian churches that the word is also being spread to. And so those efforts to do whatever they can to help, I think they're doing, but I don't see them as having a responsibility or role to play to ensure that our Justice Department do their job or our healthcare system do their job.
You didn't address the part about accountability.
Accountability as it relates to what?
One of the demands for the protesters at the church facility in Iowa, they were asking, they said they need accountability.
Okay, accountability in reference to what?
Accountability in reference to the story. They were asking for three things. I'm just referring to the protesters, what they were advocating for. They were advocating for accountability. They were advocating for justice to be served, which you have addressed, and for Jessica to get proper medical treatment. You talk about that, but you didn't talk about the accountability part, unless you feel like the church don't have any role to play in that.
Well, people are accountable for what they do or what they have a legal obligation to do, and they thereby fail to do. And so if I can be given more information as to the thinking of the source of the question, what is it they feel that the church has done wrongly, or what it is they feel the church has a legal obligation to do that they fail, then perhaps I'll be in a better position to address. But to merely say...
Thank you. Mr. Weah, I saw you high your hands up for, do you have a question?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. My concern is if it were the other way around, if Lucas was attacked or if there was any attempt of his life in Liberia as an American missionary, all the cable news in America would have been carrying that. So for those of you that are involved, I think the accountability, those who protested are asking for is that I think that no much information. There is no complaint to the State Department. People are demonstrating, demanding this. I think if this news get to the main media of the United States, this is very, very important demand. It's a missionary in Liberia did this. So I don't know. I don't think whether it's the responsibility or for those of you that are actually involved. Because when I listen to you, what I'm hearing is that you want it to be all resolved peacefully so that a missionary will not pull out of Liberia. To me, that is neglecting the attempted murder on the life of Jessica. If you're trying to just, if the effort of the churches that involved is just meant to make sure that nothing big come out of this so that the church will not withdraw from Liberia. Well, so I really want to know beyond what you are doing, what effort, I think this is the question that people are asking, what effort are you making for Jessica to get redress for it? The justice could be, she can get a better medical care, maybe flown to the United States or somewhere else, but the news needs to get to the higher top rather than just discussing it among the churches to pacify Jessica and her family. That's the concern.
Yeah, the concern is well understood. Let me give a more background. When I had summarized earlier, I said there were other parts to it, and I would permit questioning so that I couldn't take so much time explaining everything. So the way missionary work was done when I was growing up in Liberia, a church would sponsor their members, and they would train their members or whatever, and those members would come to Liberia. You knew exactly what church in the U.S. they came from, et cetera, et cetera. In 2023, like most things, missionary work has evolved. Today, they don't necessarily follow that model that seems kind of old now. Many people in the missionary world, if you will, they use what I term freelance missionary. That means if somebody who has gone to school has proof they've received counseling and education, they've got some experience, they can put their CV out there in the church world, and multiple churches, if they have budget for missionary work, will sponsor the effort. They will send money towards that work. That's essentially what happened in this case in terms of the relationship between Lucas and this church. Lucas is not a member of this church. He has never been a member of this church. I understand this church and 6 other churches have been providing funding for the work that goes on in Liberia at the school, at the clinic, and at the church that exists in Liberia. As I said, there are 29 people, right, that are being paid for all this work. Lucas and his wife are merely 2 of the 29 people. And so with that understanding and that background, when we talk about responsibility of this church, what is the church going to ensure to do about going on in the area? I think it's a good discussion, with all due respect, as Liberian.
Thank you, Mr. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting a feedback. I don't know who it's from.
I try to ask a question, Gary.
Yeah, I'll come to you, David. Mr. Johnson, if you can keep your answer very brief for us, we only have few minutes left for. I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me get David question. Do you have a question, Blue Joe? Hold on. You said you haven't finished answering the previous question. Can he just ask the question he got, and then you can just finish up the previous question and then answer that one?
So go to the new question and then come back to this question.
If you want to answer this one first, you can go ahead. But I just wanted him to ask it.
Second. So when we talk about accountability for what's happening in Liberia, I think we need to start with the government. I think we need to start with each other. Liberia is a sovereign country, right? We control what we do in our country. And so part of what we're doing here is helping with accountability because we're bringing awareness to the story. Awareness tends to help that things don't get swept under the rug.
Thank you.
So I think we start with ourselves and our country in terms of accountability.
Thank you very much. David, you're muted.
Okay. Yeah, Brother Johnson, are you hearing me now, right?
Yes.
Are you hearing me? Okay.
Something is.
His microphone's not good.
Let me take a question, Bishop Hager. When David come back, do you have a question, Bloji or Bishop Hager?
Well, I don't have a question. I just wanted to appreciate Mervyn Johnson for getting involved. I think he becoming an ambassador for our community. The reason why he got involved was because some Liberians were responding to the side incident in Liberia aggressively and considering the important role churches are playing in Liberia. We should not forget that Liberia is a very challenging place in terms of the economic activity. For 29 people to be employed by a church, it means thousands of people are directly benefiting every month from the goodwill of these churches. So while we are not going to reduce the value of Jessica's life, we also want to look at it from a holistic point of view. So I want to applaud Mr. Mervyn Johnson for getting involved. I serve as secretary to the Liberian churches in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Delaware. I've been secretary for 6 years, coordinating all of the activities. We have 80 churches, and if we have no area that such an initiative was taking place, I do have one of our men there, Pastor King, in Iowa, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I don't know which part of Iowa that church is, but we have people in Cedar Rapids, and we'll talk to them to see if they could come to use their leadership activities or leadership in the community to mobilize people for this fundraiser. But thank you very much for the great initiative. I really appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bloji, do you have any concern or question?
Well, I don't have a. Am I audible first?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing. I'm having a hearing problem tonight. I don't know, for some reason, technical. I don't know. I'm not hearing too clear, so I didn't listen to most of what has been said. But let me say hi to Melvin, and it's good to see him up here. I think Liberians have to be able to separate an institution from an individual. Even in our own country, we see churches, people in churches engaging in different behavior. You cannot assign an individual behavior to an institution. So I just thought that we can separate those things and still celebrate the good work that an institution has done and is doing in the country. So let's continue to hold individual for whatever behavior they have exhibited or carry on. That's what I can say.
Thank you. And David, do you have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Let's be a little bit retrospective of the trend of events. Jessica went to school, met a stranger or a white man, proposed to her that he wants to marry her. She went home to her mother and dad. They invited the man. Lucas admitted that he's already married, but wanted to take Jessica for a second wife. The family agreed. So my question is there anything that you can hold the family responsible for, especially the mother responsible for this, for her daughter's problem now? Is there anything that you can blame the parents for? Because this is a stranger proposed to your daughter. He said he's already married, but yet and still you agreed that he takes your daughter as a second wife. Is there anything that you can blame the parents for bringing their daughter into this kind of problem?
Mr. Johnson, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a very interesting question. I'm a believer and follower of Jesus Christ, and the Bible is very clear. Believer and follower means we believe what the Bible says, we follow what the Bible says, we believe Christ we follow him. The Bible is very clear about the sanctity of marriage. The Bible is very clear that what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. The Bible is very clear about the curses that are brought forth with adultery and this side chick phenomenon that is proliferating in our country. And so, as we say in our vernacular, when you talk it so, you also got to talk it so. As Liberians, we have to stand up. We have to be bold. We have to be outspoken about these things that are bringing curses on our country, especially us Liberian men. The whole side chick phenomenon, that thing that our young children are being lured into and encouraged into, is not something that we should giggle and laugh, because curses are not something to play. We're all aware that we're in a hot election political climate, which means we want better for the country. It doesn't make sense if you want better and you are aware these things are bringing curses. These things are spiritually tearing up the country, and nobody talks about it or takes it on. And so to the question, I appreciate the question. This is a tough situation for me because I'm here trying to support the family, but I'm a believer and follower in Jesus Christ first. And so what the word says, the word of God says is true. You're absolutely right with the point that's being made with your question. I think David, you said his name is. And so we need to stop it as a people. Liberian men, especially, we need to step up and lead the cause of holiness in our country. Enough is enough. If we want a better country, we must seek to have a country that's not filled with curses. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you
Johnson,
very much.
My final question, Derek. My final
Go
question.
ahead.
There's a confusion here, Mr. Johnson. Some parties say Lucas is not a member of the church. There are others who say Lucas is a member of the church. Even Jessica's mother has confirmed that Lucas is a member of the church. What do we believe? Is he actually a member of the church? What do you know? Or is not a member of the church? What do you know?
Well, it's very simple, right? We want to be factual, and we want to look at the source of who's saying what. Of all the people who are saying that he is a member versus the church saying he's not a member, he's never been a member, versus me telling you, having talked to the church and all the people locally, people that attend the church, that he's not a member, who of all these people that are speaking are in a better position factually to know than just saying suspicion or allegation? I think when we look at it that way, the answer becomes clear.
Thank you. Let me come down to you, Councilor Freeman, but before I do that, let me recognize the presence of Reverend Addy. Reverend Addy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everybody. God bless.
Thank you very much. Councilor Freeman, do you have any question of concern for Mr. Johnson?
So, okay, I think I'm unmuted now. I think the Jessica situation is a difficult one in Liberia, to the fact that he's already married in the U.S. First and foremost, the marriage in Liberia is not even valid. It's not a valid marriage because he's already married. I want to focus my attention more, though, on the issue concerning the agency relationship between the assailant, forgetting his name, the gentleman involved, and the church.
Lucas.
I've heard a lot about how the church may not be responsible and how the church has no role to play yet. And I think it's important that we understand a few things. There is something called agency relationship. I understand that the church initially put out a statement, and in that statement it said one of their missionaries. That was an admission on their part. Now, the church can come out today and say, look, we don't know this guy, he's not a member of the church. The reason is because they want to shield themselves from any potential liability. Okay? People say, well, they hold the individual responsible, but not the institution. Oftentimes, when people are acting in a fiduciary relationship, agency relationship. So, for example, in the case of the Catholic Church, when priests were accused of misbehavior, the church as an institution was held liable. because of agency relationship. Now, in the ordinary man's sense, you think, well, we separate the two of them. But from a legal standpoint, it is very likely that once an agency relationship is established between that church and the perpetrator in Liberia, then the church bears some legal responsibility. The question then becomes is whether or not there is in fact an agency relationship between the church and this missionary. Mr. Johnson said that he was a freelance missionary. That may very well be the case. But if the church put itself out there that makes one to conclude that there is a relationship between the church and the gentleman in Liberia, there is a possibility that the church could be seen as a fiduciary of that man, and therefore there will be vicarious liability. Now, the only problem that a plaintiff's attorney may have in proving vicarious liability on the church is the fact that the guy in question may have exceeded the scope of that relationship he had with the church. The church did not ask him to go and commit an intentional act. Whatever he was accused of doing is an intentional act. So that may be outside the scope of the relationship he has with the church. But let's be mindful to shield the church of liability, because there might very well be vicarious liability, what we call superior respondent. The superior answers for the subordinate. Now, having said all of that, there isn't enough, evidence to actually conclude that that relationship actually exists between the man and the church. But if in fact, and I think as this matter progresses, should civil laws to be brought in the U.S., don't be surprised if the church is also named in that lawsuit. I see that happening if the matter proceeds in civil court, because ultimately it's the church that has the deep pocket. This gentleman doesn't have the deep pocket. It's going to be the question of whether or not a judge or a jury can conclude that an agency relationship exists between the church and the gentleman. That's just my take on that.
Thank you very much. Well, we have exhausted all of the time for the interview, but I would like to come back to you, Mr. Johnson. You can respond to some of the concerns you've heard. You can give us your closing on this special interview.
Yeah, I'm somewhat perplexed and surprised as to the council's response. Being a jurist myself for 20 plus years, there are many young people in the Atlanta, Georgia area that I refer to as my son or my daughter. And merely because I say, oh, this is one of my sons that was in trouble, this is one of my daughters that were in trouble, they're not my biological child, that's how I refer to them. That doesn't make them my son and my daughter. And certainly whatever they do, that doesn't make me responsible for it as well. Notwithstanding, I understand all the positions. I'm hoping that each of you will make a donation. I'm hoping we can keep the awareness going for this cause to help Jessica, all who have been harmed in all of this. And I'm hoping that there will be reconciliation. I want to say thank you to the bishop, and I want to urge each of you, if you have people in the area or people that are close to the area, to make an effort to call, just as the bishop has said he would, to get as many people, to galvanize as much effort as we can towards this cause. This is indeed a worthy cause for our daughter and for our people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, and thanks to all of you panelists for your questions and concerns. We will now take a break. When we come back, we have our full Horizon squad lineup, and we will get right into our discussion for the night. For those of you watching, this is the Liberia Radio and Television Network with episode 7 of the Horizon. And we will take a brief break right now, and when we come back, we will get into our discussion. And, we will be talking about the results coming from the National Elections Commission, with 99.97% of the results being announced. And George Manning, we are the incumbent in the lead with 43.84%. But when we come back, we'll have our panelists give you their take on the results and what it could mean for a likely second round. But for now, let's take a very brief break.
Hi, my name is Martha Tomle, owner of Matisia Natural Hair Salon, located on 4405 Chestnut Street. We are specializing in locks, natural hair, braids, and etc. Call us for all your natural hair needs. You can reach out at 267-703-2330. If you have pictures or videos you want to send us, you can send it to 267-224-0693.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. We're here with a team of panelists: Bishop Hagar, Reverend Addy, Councilor Freeman, Mr. Ja Winkin Weah, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. David Tarkwe. And of course, my name is Derek Yale. This is the Horizon. As you know, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. So let's get into our discussion, beginning with the elections results as it stands. 99.97% of the results have been announced, with President George Manneh Weah in the lead with 803,956 votes that constituted to 43.84%, and Ambassador Joseph Yoman Boaka of Unity Party just right after him with 796,513 votes, which constituted 43.43%. So let me bring this conversation to our panelists, first beginning with what was talked about during the campaign period. This election was about change. Let's have that first conversation. Does the votes Liberia make a statement? Does that indicate that they want change? What do you guys make of what we've seen so far, and also the likelihood of a second round? Who do you think is going to emerge as the winner of the elections? Let me first start with introductory remarks from our panelists. I would like to start with you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weah. Give us your take. I see your guy, Councilor Gonglo. He's here in 5th place, right after Mr. Cummins.
Derek.
Mr. Weah.
Derek,
Oh, actually, let me go to David first. I'm sorry, Mr. Weah. David, go ahead.
Derek, the question you asked the gentleman in studio, these guys are from diverse political backgrounds.
Okay.
Unity Party, and the CDC. I'm not saying blow the chopping Charlie. So if you ask them, who you think will become victorious or emerge victorious, what do you expect Reverend Addy to tell you? What do you expect Bishop Hagar to tell you? Jawin Kempa is out of the show.
I know what you're going to say, but that was my biggest question to ask the final question. But let me get an introduction you first. Let me start with Mr. Weah.
Jawin, you are muted.
Oh, are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Derek. What I have to say first is I'd like to thank all Liberians for peacefully participating in our elections. That was great. It is important to know that we are all Liberians, and Liberians are all bounded by that one identity of being a Liberian. That's all I can say. But with respect to these elections, I want for Liberians to ask themselves what will become of the next 6 years. Right now, we have President Weah and Mr. Boakai. both of the two men were the two men that were part of the second rounds again in 2017. So this is a repeat. So that means if we are wins, it will be 12 years. If Bogami, it will be your first time to serve as the president. In Liberia, the presidency has power than any other position in government. Vice president, minister, senator, chief justice, knowing what I know in Liberia, it is the president who set things to happen in that country. For all of us, the reason why we did not support WIA, even though I'm from the Southeast, I did not see anything different from political leaders who were president before him. He adapted the culture of corruption. He adapted.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Weir, you exhausted your 1 minute and 45 seconds. Well, I'll give you 10 seconds to conclude.
Okay, so what I'll have to say is that Liberia need to really think through between WIA and Boakai, who is the best chance.
Let me stay with you and ask you this question, though, because the political leader or the standard bearer for CPP released the CPP released a press statement where in it he said that the results that were announced defy common sense. What do you make of that statement? How do you respond to that?
I think the Liberian people voting what we call down the ballot. I think for sedition, I know some sedition voted against some members of the legislatures, but instead they trusted WIA. I think the same thing happened on the other side. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me now hear from Reverend Adi. Give us your take on these results that were announced with the incumbent in the lead with 43.84%.
Well, certainly 0.4% lead is not much of a big difference, but quite shocking for an incumbent who spent $50 million, printed 2 million T-shirts and berets, bought 150 pickups, block out Monrovia with a lot of billboards, helicopter, 1.5 million on media. It's certainly disappointing that a vast majority of Liberians have spoken, quite frankly, that they do not approve of his job. He couldn't secure 50 plus 1% in this race, and especially not to mention the fact that he's running neck to neck with the Vice President Joseph Ima Boyka. So let's assume you grab all of the votes of the opposition and you tally them in one group. That tells you that a significant amount of Liberians disapprove of the job that President WIA claims that he's doing very well. Unfortunately not, because Liberians who have voted for different parties have told the whole world that they do not believe and certainly disapprove of the work that President George Weah is doing. So hopefully in the second round, those Liberians have an opportunity to demonstrate their sense of patriotism for a country that will significantly be rescued should they decide to make a vote that will determine their prosperity today or poverty tomorrow in the person of Joseph Ima Boyka. Thank you. Derek, if you're talking, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. But let me stay with you, Reverend Adi, on what you just said. He said a majority or significant amount of Liberians disapprove of the incumbent. Now, let me ask you though, because like Brempo got us saying, they said numbers don't lie. If you look at the previous elections in 2017, first round, the president got about just a little over 38%. This election, with 99.97% of the results announced, he has 43.84%. One may argue that the message is resonating with the people, and there are even a higher percentage of people approving him now for the second round. How would you, for the first round, how would you respond to that?
You're breaking up.
Can you guys hear me?
You were. Can hear you now. There was a little freeze.
All right, I repeat myself. To what you just said, Reverend Adi, You said a significant amount of Liberians disapproved of the incumbent based on the results that were just announced. Now, I'm saying one may argue that based on the previous elections result in the first round, President Weah got just over 38% of the votes. This time around, with 99.97% of the votes announced, he has 43.84%. One may argue that there are more people now approving him of the job he's done over the past 6 years. How would you respond to that?
Well, certainly not, because when you look at the fact that the president didn't have a record, he ran on his celebrity status and he could not secure a victory until he reached the second round. With a coalition, now he's demonstrated and claimed that he's done tremendously well by the Liberian people. Unfortunately, when you look at the numbers in its entirety, his favorability rating dropped by 5%, whilst that of Joseph Boyka went up by 14% when you put all of the numbers and statistics together. So it's very clear Liberians, by and large, have come to, quite frankly, realize that if a brother like Appiton can get over 40,000 votes, who just joined the race, certainly, if Mr. Weah was doing a great job, he would certainly, that those votes would have been diverted to him as an incumbent who spent 50 million, 150 pickups and motorbikes, and spent a lot of money on the media, but still was able to be at neck to neck with Joseph Boyka. It speaks a lot to a reflection of the extrajudicial killing in the country, the rampant corruption, the softization of the government, easternization of the government, the consistency of tribalism among all of government ministers, the poor rate of healthcare and poverty in the country is a reflection of disapproval, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. Now, let me hear from you, Blow J. Choppy Charlie. Give us your take on these results that were just announced.
Well, I think one of the things I hope I'm clear. I think one of the things we have to do is that we have to give a credibility to the network, even though people are speaking their own views, but we have to be able to checkmate people for spewing disinformation, intentional falsehood, and lies. There's no evidence that George Weah spent $50 million in these elections. We cannot entertain this kind of falsehood. There's a disservice to the discussion, because it doesn't allow to have a fair conversation when people intentionally spew lies. There's no evidence that George Weah bought 150 vehicles and give it to anybody. So these lies, are poisoning the discussion, and then we're not able to really discuss facts. But interestingly, that the Unity Party of Joseph Boyka supporter will offer these lies, speaks to the kind of campaign they have run, which failed. The lie that George Weah brought drugs to Liberia, Kush, and all these lies they have been saying it for over 6 years, yet the Liberian people squarely rejected Joseph Boyka as squanderer. And let's look at the reasoning and logic right now. He says we add all of the numbers together, everybody else versus George Weah. More Liberians said they didn't want George Weah. But we use that same logic against Joseph Boyka, we'll see that a higher number of Liberians rejected Joseph Boyka clearly. We look at that same region, put all the numbers together against Joseph Boyka, a higher percent of Liberia denounce Joseph Boyka as a crook, denounce him as a tribalist, denounce him as a squanderer. And interestingly, between Joseph Boyka and George Weah himself, George Boyka defeated Joseph Boyka. He was squarely defeated. But yet the Unity Party will still spew, and Joseph Boyka supporter will still spew or hate messages, lies, and deception. So this is dangerous for our country, and we should not entertain these kind of politics.
Thank you, Blojo. Let me stay with you, because prior to the election, I know Unity Party shared the same view, but CDC seems to be confident, very confident that they were going to win these elections in the first round, and unfortunately, they weren't able to round up 50% plus 1 vote in the first round. How do you respond to that?
Well, the CDC defeated Joseph Boyka in the first round, so at least that's a consolation. We said we're going to defeat him. Yeah. I understand the question. We said we're going to defeat Joseph Boyka and Unity Party because they have a bad record, they have a bad character, they have a bad governance. The fact that Joseph Boyka was defeated by George Weah in the first round, yes, aspirations are good. There's wild aspiration of winning this first round, but we all know the history of elections in Liberia. You have many other people running the race, so it was a little bit difficult. And for George Weah to win the first round. But interestingly, what it shows the democratic credential of George Weah. It shows the credibility of George Weah, that in Cuba will have elections and a live, fair playing field. George Weah did not interfere in elections, and the outcome, the numbers reflect the kind of credible government that George Weah has been running Liberia. Because the idea that, especially coming from the Unity Party who cannot win, accusing George Weah of cheating, why would George Weah cheat in an election and he does not give himself the numbers to win? It does not make sense. Only accused-infused mentality can reason that way. That George Weah is cheating, but he's allowing Joseph Boakai to have huge number, and he cannot give himself the numbers to win these elections. It's insane.
Thank you very much, Blow J.
I have a question for Blow J.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, Reverend Ade. It's a Reverend Ade. No, Mr. Ade said, is he a Reverend? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Reverend
Okay,
Ade.
okay, Reverend Ade said the CDC spent, I think, $50 million. I'm not correct, Reverend Ade?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you said the CDC spent $50 million. Blow J, you said, Reverend Ade, total lie. So what did the CDC spend? What did the CDC spend during the
No, I don't have a burden to prove that. If the burden is on Ade to prove that CDC spend that money. I mean, you can ask me to answer a falsehood, to produce proof of a falsehood. He made an accusation that is not true. He should produce the evidence. That's what we should be challenging him to do to get the network credibility. I mean, he should show the evidence. That's what we should be doing, challenging him not to ask me a question to produce something that is far from reality.
Thank you, Mr. Weah. Do you have a comment?
Yeah. I wanted to say that Blow J to understand that this network is not a court, and people in territory are free speech. And I also know that there are some things CDC have been saying that are not bearing the truth. For example, the president was here, he said, like, unless you don't want a job in Liberia, that's the only way you don't get. That's why you're today in the nation. And it is true that people are suffering in Liberia. There is no lies in it. So this network, in short, cannot prove any evidence. People can comment, and especially Blow J, you being in America, you know what people do on the radio in campaigns. So
but people are challenged on the radio for spewing information or facts.
Thank you.
And that way, they never can challenge somebody to prove the facts.
If you want to challenge Reverend Ade to produce the facts, you can go right ahead, but the network do not have that responsibility. Anyways, let me move now to Bishop Hagar. Give us your take on this discussion. If you can respond to Blow J, this is Ambassador Boakai third time being defeated by George Farnham Weah, 2017. First round, and second the first round of the election, and the second runoff, he got defeated, and then again in this one is very.
I just wanted to
go ahead.
My friend and brother Blow J. It was in 2017 that the Unity Party organized election that brought George Weah to power. We did not cheat, so the issue of transparent election is not the ownership of the CDC. We have high election and we have made it very transparent, open. We were in power and we decided to make the election open and transparent, and CDC came to power. What I want to say tonight here is we are here for the second round. The second round indicates to us that nobody can win election outright in Liberia. The reason is because, and we've been saying it to our opposition's brothers, the CPP, we've been saying this to all the other political parties that are in opposition, that when you look at the candidate, only Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai has the number. And they did not listen to us. As we go to the second round, I told you that there's room for Gongolo. We still have room for him to work in the Joseph Yuma Boakai government.
Give me a call. You and Eddie should give me a call.
Listen, there's room for Alexander Cummings.
When I allow you to
listen to me, listen, I'm a 1 minute over yet.
Go ahead. Actually, you can see the time.
Why they consider Appleton is a good friend of mine. I know him from Maryland. We were in Abidjan together. I spoke to him yesterday. We called upon him. We need him on the rescue team. We can't allow Liberia to go for the next 6 years in this incompetent, corrupt government of George Weah. Albeit, it will be the disaster of the greater disaster in Liberia national history will be to allow George Weah
Bishop
to
Hager,
go
Bishop
back for the
Hager,
second time. So
Bishop
I'm calling
Hager,
all the opposition. We are coming to you.
Bishop Hager.
We must remove this incompetent government, this corrupt, irresponsible government from our nation political landscape. George Weah must go. That's what I have to say. He must go.
A lot of people. I got two questions for you. First, based on what you just said, a lot of people will disagree with you. Matter of fact, 803,956 eligible voters disagree with you, stating that they want President Weah for another 6 years. How do you convince those people that they are making the wrong choice? And secondly, the Standard Bureau for CPP, Alexander Cummings, released a press statement saying that the results defy common sense. And I know you advocated for free and fair elections during the campaign season. Do you think this election's results defy common sense? And why do you think that?
Listen, when somebody died, I'm giving you a parable. You can't cry. Now you look for a way to bury the person. We're not going where we are right now. We are not going to be talking about whether the election was transparent. The national election, we don't have time for that right now. What we have time for is to call Alexander Cummings. He's a sound man. We respect him, a lot of potential. We welcome him on the rescue team. Want to call on all the opposition. This is the time. Let's come together. We've been saying it, we've been preaching the message. Let's get the irresponsible, corrupt government from our land. They do not mean any good thing for Liberia. I'm saying it. Let George Weah and his people go. We want responsible government. And the opposition coming together. We want to go to them and talk to them. Let's bury our pride. Let's bury every differences and let's come together. We are in majority. George Weah and his bunch of irresponsible people don't have any majority in our country. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bishop, I have a question for you. It's often said that a good player doesn't fight for justice. And that is to say that if the United Party thinks that it's the best side to go on, why can't it remain quiet? Why is it going after begging these opposition political parties to join it? Why can't they bring themselves to?
We are not forcing them. We just reminding them that we are one family. Alexander Cummings know what he stands for. Alexander Cummings know what he stands for. Gongolo was working with Unity Party. He know what he stands for. But we just calling our brothers to come back. We're not begging them. We're telling them the family is yours. Come and join your family. That's what we're saying.
My second question, sir, is that you mentioned Appiton. That Appiton, you talked to him and he should come because you're one of the guys that generated more votes. But Appiton votes are being questioned and being debated in Monrovia or Liberia across the country.
Yeah, listen, you are a journalist. There are a lot of speculation. I don't want to go on there. So many people are saying the vote that Appiton got was actually Joseph Boaga vote because he was very close to you are number one, Joseph Boaga number two. And most of our people, they don't know how to put their fingers. They may have made mistake and put their finger on Appiton. So we are saying if he got a vote in by whatever means, his name is up there. You get people there. Even at 10%, Appiton is a friend of mine. I know him personally. I'm called upon him. I'll call him. Then he can get on the rescue team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hager. I got more questions for you. Well, let me hear from Councilor Freeman on just share with us your legal knowledge on this entire elections results being announced, as far as it leading into second round, and also the issues of maintaining the peace. Just talk to us about your take on all of it, Councilor Freeman.
Thank you, Derek. But before I do that, if I may, and the reason I want to do this is because the matter of Jessica is very important to me. Just before Mr. Johnson exited the show, he made an analogy. The analogy was if I have sons in the community and they do something wrong, I'm not gonna be responsible. In an employment context, it's not the same thing as having relationship with your sons and your sons do something wrong. In an employment context, people get held responsible. Businesses get held responsible for their actions all of the time. The church get held responsible for the actions of the people for the entrust to put into the community. So I just want to make that point. The analogy was a 41. Father and son relationships is different from an employee and an employer relationship. But that's besides the point. In terms of the election, look, I'm not surprised. There were just too many presidential candidates in the race, nearly 20 of them. It's almost impossible for a single political party in Liberia to outrightly win an election. So I think we've discussed on the show before that more likely there was going to be a second round. And so I'm not surprised. The only thing I'm urging all parties to do is what I've said before, and that is the courage to exercise strength, the courage to continue to implore their followers to remain peaceful. Secondly, it is important. I think there were some glitches with the way the National Election Commission conducted itself, from the fact that they did not release the registration roll to the poor polling stations and some of the delay at the polling station. My hope that at the second round, the National Election Commission would tighten the loopholes so that the people can sort of build confidence in the system. Anything short of that is going to create a problem even when a winner is declared. They need to close the loopholes so that the Liberian people can feel confident in the process. I'm not going to really address the political aspect of what's going on, but I think the National Election Commission has a duty to the Liberian people to make sure the election is seen as free, fair, and transparent, and I hope they can do that in the second round.
Thank you very much, Councillor Freeman. Before we take a break, let me come back to you, Lord Choppy Charlie. I don't know if you have any rebuttal, but I need you to address this statement from CPP press statement that they feel like the results of the elections defy common sense, or highlighting or suggesting there was some discrepancy. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, before I do that, let me just respond to the comments from the council. The question Elections Commission has to be based on the law, and just saying the Election Commission did something wrong, it's not the Election Commission responsibility for people making those kind of allegations which may create doubt of what elections. Elections Commission, as far as we are concerned, as far as the election has been conducted in Liberia regarding the voter roll, that case when the Supreme Court ruled at the end of the day in favor of the Elections Commission. But that is the way election has always been conducted in Liberia. This very United Party have won elections with those same rules. So the question of the rules now says the dishonesty of the United Party and other people who have questioned the Elections Commission. They need to change the law. That's it. So let's come to Cummings statement. Look, Cummings statement, as somebody said, we don't want to start criticizing people now, but these elections, I think the way the vote went is a testament to the maturity of the Liberian electorate. They are growing. And some of us have made this argument in the past. Many people have said, oh, why is it that we have 20 political parties while everybody registering? Some of us have said, look, over a period of time, there will be natural political evolution where the citizens themselves, by their vote, will divide the politics into two groups. And the people have been voting over time. So it is not manufacturing by the way they are voting that they are not wasting their time so much on voting for so many candidates, but they are choosing what they will be considered as the two best candidates or the two dominant candidates. So the vote is a clear reflection of the maturity and growth of the Liberian voter. I have no query with the results that they choose early. 2017, this election is almost a redo of 2017 elections, where you have the two dominant parties clashing as each other. And lastly, the last point I want to make is that this argument that Joseph Boakai has a dominant number, and so he was the best choice. Even if Cummings had 1%, Joseph Boakai cannot win on his own with all the vote of the other person. So the disrespect towards Cummings at the CPP arrangement is what is suffering Unity Party, and the defeat of Unity Party is suggested that it will still be defeated by George Weah on this ballot.
Thank you very much.
Let me respond to that, because they were praying, they were fasting, they wanted for Alexander Cummings to be the candidate for CPP so they can have clear ride. We understood the tactic. That was a tactic. We're not going to play that game with you.
Boakai has been defeated also.
Okay,
so
you're gonna see.
It's clear.
You're gonna see.
Thank you.
Alexander Cummings to be the forerunner.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're coming forward, you're going to get better chance. Maybe.
We never
you
had
have been
the numbers.
defeated.
Never had the numbers. We told them. We never had the number. That's it.
Thank you, Bishop Hagar. When we will take a very brief break. When we come back, we will get into the preparation for the runoff elections. What are the CDC and the Unity Party going to be running on to convince their voters and other voters to make them the president or to win the elections? And also, we will be getting into the former lawmakers associations of Liberia, some of the key first and flow fighters that were voted out of the legislature, the Speaker Buffer Chimas and Akara Moses Grace. So we'll come back, we'll have your take on that as well. But for now, let's take a brief break. When we come back, we'll get into that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network, and we're bringing you episode 7, season 4 of The Horizon. And my name is Derek Galley, and I'm playing host tonight. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. David Takwe. And also, I have a team of panelists here, Miss Bishop Hagar, Blote Chopi Charlie, Mr. Jai Winkin Weah, Reverend Addy, and I have Councilor Stephen Freeman with us tonight. Let me come to you, David. You can bring us that development on the former lawmakers associations of Liberia. So talk to us on that.
There's a list of defeated members of the legislature that are now being considered former lawmakers association. And they include the Buffer Chambers, who is the president of this association, according to this list. Carlos Great, vice president. Solomon George, secretary general. Bashir C.B. Bashir, assistant secretary general. Lawrence Morris, financial. Swakoko Dennis, treasurer. Jimmy Smith, member. It's a long list, Derek. It's about you're talking about 35 names here who are members of the former lawmakers association of Liberia. In my view, whether this exists or not is what we don't know, but I think it's a flattery that they've been defeated, and some group just put their names together and they're calling them. So I think it's a flattery of the lawmakers who were defeated. So
thank you.
Maybe our panelists can tell us their impression or their views about these people who've been defeated. Mainly, the hardest hit in my view is the CDC, to have lost Akaros Gray, one of the major flow fighters of the CDC, the speaker of the Hot Buffer Chambers. And that's in my view, or in the views of many Liberians, the CDC is the hardest hit because they have lost Akaros Gray and Buffer Chambers. Maybe Bloody Chopping Charlie can come in right here.
Yes, I was going to go to him to start on that. Give us your view on that.
Well, the reality here is that I've never been a fan of the national legislature. I've always argued that point, that the legislature is the most destructive, corrupt body in the country and is responsible for most of the problems the country faces. We always try to blame the president, but the reality is that the legislature is actually responsible for most of the bad things that goes on in the country, the bad governance, the poor governance. So I have no sympathy for people in the legislature, though it is never a good thing when your side loses in any elections. And from the CDC perspective, we losing lawmakers is not a good thing. But generally, I wanted more lawmakers to lose their seat. I thought these people have not treated the country very right, and they have made it appear that the other branches of government don't exist. So we don't even hold a judicial responsible for what is going on in the country. There's another bad branch of the country doing all kinds of bad things, and we don't look at them. We are only always looking at the president. Every day crying on the name of the president. The president cannot function with all the legislators. So I say Liberians should keep voting these legislators all until we have a better legislature.
Thank you. Let me hear from you, Mr. Jai Winkin. We are on
I just wanted to say something. It's fine.
Jawankin is a man who is recognized, but
No. Let him go ahead. I give him the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for correcting me, but I appreciate that. Changing legislature, in a sense, is not a win for democracy. In America, they get some people who've been there for 40 years there and they understand the issues. I would just take the example. Look at that Swakoko Dennis, a geologist, a sound person. You replace that legislature with somebody that don't understand the issue and novice coming in. They have to learn everything afresh. I think this thing about politics in Liberia need to change. People are putting people in office. No, don't get me wrong. They have the right to choose whoever they want. But sometimes continuity in the legislature serves as a guarantor to make sure that legislature agendas are put in place. So there are some good people in the legislature that lost their seat. Of course, that's the people political decision. The third thing that I see over there is that so many candidates. I see in some district, the legislature won with 3,000 votes. I mean, just imagine 3,200 votes, he win, his friend get 2,000. It means the vote has been split. So many, and Liberians need to understand that is not helping us. You get one district, 10 representative candidate. Because everybody won't be represented. It's just reducing our democracy. It's not really helping us. Everybody want to be boss.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, Bishop Hagar. Let's hear from you, Mr. Jai Winkin. We are.
All right. Thank you, Derek. I have two things. Sorry that my brother Blue Jay is not on right now, but I wanted to address what he just said. In Liberia, in Africa as a whole,
do you want for me to take Reverend Addy and then come back to you?
If you want to, but I want you to be on so you can listen to it.
Okay, let hear from Reverend Addy, and then hopefully Blojo will join, and you can give your rebuttal. Reverend Addy.
Right. So I just want to come back to the millions of dollars that the incumbent George Weah spent. If you read an article posted in the Daily Observer, you will see that the head of the EU mission, Mr. Andreas Snyder, accused President George Weah, the EU mission, of disproportionately outspending, thus distorting the political playing field amongst his opponents. They went on to list the vehicles he bought, the T-shirts printed, the billboards in all 15 counties, electoral individuals or officials who were campaigning on his behalf, the president of the helicopter for that matter. So an estimated $50 million was projected that this may be the cost of his campaign expenditure. So for someone to sit here and claim that this is a made-up story, it's not true, because the state resources were being used, which is a violation of our electoral laws that President Weah did. He did that in the midst of the fact that folks aren't getting paid in any way, shape, or form. So we are very much clear on the record that campaign political parties were outspent using state resources based upon the observation of the European Union mission that went to Liberia. for these
Thank you.
elections.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Can you speak to these lawmakers that were voted out, the key lawmakers that were voted out? What is your view
Right.
on?
So the popular names are Fanny Sherman, Milton Tieje, Komene Wise, Maurice Etuma, Akarius Gray. That is the beauty of democracy. If you do not fulfill the dreams and aspirations of the people, you will certainly be replaced. You'll certainly be replaced. As I listened to Mr. Fanny Sherman, he recognized that, in Liberia, we have what you call the politics of identity. He so quickly forgot also that it was the politics of identity that elected him. And he went on to say that for all the towns and villages he went to, not one person asked him what he was doing and on their behalf in terms of representation. But I would rather ask him, did you educate them concerning what you are doing for them to keep you in the position? He proceeded to say that he was retiring. Suakoko Dennis is a representative of the ALP. I admire her. She was, a very young, enthusiastic young lady who spoke very eloquently and soundly on the issues pertaining to the dreams and aspirations and vision of where Liberia ought to be. So I'm a little bit disappointed about that. And she certainly came from the All Liberian Party. Having said that, you look at a man like Akarius Gray, who violently assaulted the students of LU for exercising their democratic rights. Should he be removed? Absolutely. That is the beauty of democracy. The man that will not respect the rule of law, ignored by the court system and the president himself. So I think he was quite a cancer to our political civility in that country. So hey, he was kicked out. Unlike Yeke Koluba, who of course, certainly represents a certain demographic of our country, seems to be one who speaks in profanity, but people perceive him to be the guy that speaks truth to power. So he kept his seat. So there are various complexities and diversities when it comes to the perception of why Liberian voters will keep their representative or senators in power or have some leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let's hear from you, Mr. Jad Winkin. Unfortunately, we don't have Blue Jay back here.
Okay, thank you. Blue Jay is not on, but then what I wanted to say about what he said about the presidency in Liberia, from the time I was born, from the time all of us were born, the presidency is powerful. It is still powerful. What he does or what she does, we never have. Anyway, yes. Whatever the president does in Liberia has impact. In Congress, the presidency also has the power to call for a referendum once he has majority of the people to bring about changes if he wanted to. So the idea of giving an excuse, I don't want to buy that. With respect to the removal of the Congress people, our lawmakers, well, that is the vote. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, that our lawmakers will make money or salary more than the lawmakers of the United States. And for each time you speak to any of these people, they will tell you that they made it there, so they can't change it. But yet, look at all the institutions, the ministry, the agency in Liberia, including the foreign ministry. There is no water, no electricity. Even the Capitol building, you got to use bucket to flush. Yet we got people called themselves lawmakers. The Liberian people were right. We hope that those who are coming in will see that their purpose is to serve the Liberian people, not the other way around. They need to seek the welfare of the Liberian people. It is unfortunate they are giving President Weah a pass. Never too late. But Weah has the power. Weah is a failure. I will say that, I maintain that. So all of these people, Article 1 of the Constitution is very clear that the purpose of serving in government in Liberia is to serve for the satisfaction and the security of the people. They are all called servants according to Article 1 of the Constitution. So you can't steal the money. You can't use the resources for yourself and call yourself honorable. That is not a honorable character. So for those who have problem about the decision to vote these people out, yes, That is democracy. And Blojo, thank God you came by. I disagree with you to say the president is the excuse of what is going on in the country. That presidency has power to call for a referendum.
Did I say the president excuse? Did I say that?
Floje, let's protect Mr. Weir.
Yeah.
And I'll give
They're only asking a question.
So why it is true that because the presidency is powerful in Liberia, whatever he does or she does, people listen, people follow through. We expected Weir to be a changed president. He isn't. He just have the same people, the same type of behavior, the same low behavior. There is no change in President Weir. He wants to do things in his own name. That is not democracy. That is not a way for a president to be wrong. Our country to be wrong. It's wrong. We need a system that will work. We need a system, not the president going to that are doing this. That is not the way democracy works. Thank you.
Thank you. Blojo, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I was correcting. I did not say the president is an excuse. I said the legislature has made it for people to only blame the president. We have only been blaming the president. I didn't say the president don't have a responsibility. And the idea that the president is so powerful that he can do anything is another myth. You know, it is a problem we keep having Liberians. The president does not have, he's not a dictator. He doesn't have exclusive power to do anything. And we continue to blame the president. It's a simple I'm making. The president, many times the legislature have taken decisions against the president. The president has sent a proposal, the president wants it. And when it happens, the president cannot be a dictator and bully his way through. That's not how the way the government system works in Liberia. So just because the man is president does not mean that he can do anything he wants to do. And George has been a democratic leader where he has allowed the process of government to work. And some have criticized the legislature because many times they have the responsibility and the power to change things, to redo laws, to redo concession agreement, and they have failed in these aspects. And we still blame the president. We say, why the president do this? The president cannot be a dictator.
Where are the proposals from the president that they put down?
I didn't understand that.
What are some of the changes he brought about that the legislature turned down? For example.
Oh, okay. Let me just give you some of the changes the president has done. Number one, the president has increased the revenue in the budget. The same source of revenue that the president has always been getting.
What change?
Listen. You asked for changes. I'm answering your question. The same source of revenue Liberia have had. This president has increased the Liberian budget, the revenue, for more based on his proposal. This president has used the government money to carry on project, domestic project with all international funding that has not been happening in Liberia before. He has renovated schools across the country. He has built new schools. He has renovated hospitals. He has built new hospitals. That is with Liberian money. It has not happened in the past. And many other things he has done.
President, I am saying.
Well, you say he has done nothing. He has done no changes. I'm telling you some of the changes he has done.
I'm not saying so. I said, which proposal has he made to the lawmaker that they turned down? He said, you want to do something about the potent. So I said, well, what kind of change that the people turned down?
Let's move on.
That you wanted to do, then the Congress said, no, we can't do it.
Let's move on. Reverend Addy.
No. But I think it's quite frankly important for Blojo to educate the public on the proposal that the Honorable President submitted to the House and they turned it down. That's a fair question.
That's the question I'm asking, yeah.
I think Blojo, if you like to respond to that question, go ahead, Blojo.
Oh yeah, the president has made proposal for building of schools, for building a hospital, for building of roads. And most often these proposals does not come out the way the president wants them to be. The legislature has redone these proposals. Take for example, there's a road, this road funding project. The president has tried to secure sources of revenue for building the coastal highway in Liberia. It has not come to pass because legislature have a different take. So we've seen that the president always gets blamed when things don't get done in the country. But the president is not a dictator. The president cannot bully his way. Take for example, the legislative question in the country. The past government owe a huge debt that made it difficult for Liberia to get legislative early on. the president wanted to take that money to invest it in building Liberia's own or domestic or legislative resource, energy resource. But the legislature felt that it was important for us to borrow it and use that West African power pool, what they call it, clergy or something. So the president has to take money and pay off the old debt so that Liberia will get or legislated from Ivory Coast. And today, more Liberians are connected to the bill legislated in the past. So the president has been doing some good things. We have to give people the credit, especially when the president are doing things differently. And more importantly, I'll emphasize this point, it is not international funding. These things the president has been doing, he has been using domestic resource to do these things, increasing teacher salaries. Master degree level teachers in Liberia are making $700. Today they are making more than $2,000. That money was based on the president's proposal and value on education. Today, high school students taking WISE are paid, are not paid, it's free. People going to university, these are all proposals the president made. So these are changes that have allowed more students to pass in Liberia since George Weah became president and instituted our school program. Most students are passing WISE exam than in the past. In the past, students pay every year.
Let me add a question.
Before you do that, David, let me hear from Reverend Addy. Reverend Addy seems to have a rebuttal.
Well, let's be very clear. The question was highly pointed, and Blowjay certainly, quite frankly, went around because he could not present not one example of a proposal that President George Weah submitted to the Senate or to the legislature, for that matter, and it was rejected. You know, he went on to talk propaganda. He paid WIAC school fees. First of all, let's talk about the electricity. It was the Joseph Boyka's administration that secured over $200 million in combination with the Millennium Development Fund. That's why you have your Mount Coffee Dam rebuilt, and that's why you also have the Lopak Dam put in place. So stop spewing misinformation that is inconsistent with the facts on the ground. You know, we are in a political season and you want to score points, I can understand that, but the facts are louder than the misinformation. He asked you a question. What has he?
Is it a Mount Coffee Dam supplying current to Liberia or buying current from Ivory Coast?
Okay, so let me educate you on what happened. All right, Liberia is part of what you call the CLSG line. Okay, that CLSG line has to do with Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. All right. This is an international effort to facilitate electricity throughout the sub-region. And so Liberia, as a member of that reality, secured the MDM, the Millennium Development Funding, that helped reconstruct your Mount Coffee Dam, but we still lack the ability to distribute power. So hence, Ivory Coast, who's part of this initiative, there are times they're able to supply current to us because we lack distribution power at this time. So when Mr. Tue told the whole world that we're selling current to Ivory Coast, there are times when, because we don't have enough distribution capacity, we retain energy on our end. So we distribute to Ivory Coast by evidence of the CLSG line that runs between all of the countries. That's the reality. So your government is working out of what was done in the last 12 years by the Ellen Joseph Boyka administration. So make no mistake, what you see today, funding was already secure. Government is continuity, and that is why you are having problems with funding, because this government lacks credibility to secure funding. That is why they attempted to go to the Igbo math, which was a corrupt deal, and the Eton, because the credibility is gone. So let's talk about our deficit. Yes, the deficit was liquidated. Ellen took it to about $1 billion. You came and you increased the deficit. And that is why today you have to harmonize people's salary. And you're talking about increasing people with master's degree, but you harmonize the civil servants, who are about 70,000 of them. You harmonize the salary, the rice price gone up, gasoline gone up. They have to borrow to live because they want to serve the country. This is the reality that they're living in. So when your finance minister misrepresents the reality that we have 5 million people in Liberia, but he said he's taken out 27 million people, that he had to be corrected about that. So let's be clear, Blowjay. The people of Liberia are living in dire straits. In the words of Tiawan Gonglo, Liberia as a nation is in the ICU. In the words of Mr. Alexander Cummings, he stated very clearly, our democracy is threatened. our peace is shaky. In the words of Joseph Boyka, he said, let's think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia. We can do that by misrepresenting the facts as you're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. And Mr. Takwe, do you have a question for Blue Jay?
You know, the question I wanted to ask Bloje was, he mentioned the issue of the coastal highway. Was it a proposal to the legislature, or was it one of the promises the president made during the campaign in 2017?
Well, you have to say, yeah, John, I think these are people say the president made no promises. And people want to say he made promises. Look, the reality here is that I'm not going to bore myself down to this specific issue about the coastal highway. I really like to address some of it. I'm happy that a Unity Party surrogate, Joseph Boyka surrogate, is trying to discuss issues, but still filling with propaganda. The Liberian Party rejected this propaganda that Unity Party continue to feed. It has not worked, and still you want to serve this propaganda. Let's listen to him very well. He says they built $250 million dam, but they didn't have the distribution mechanism to do that. The whole cost was including the $50 million, but because they stole the money, they were unable to distribute the current. He admits that Liberia is buying current from outside, but still in the same thing, you want to say that this government is using what it did. There was a huge debt burden level on this government. You're talking about most of the reason why this government has had problems, even the very legislative, is that because when this government came to power, before this government came to power, the West African power pool has stopped supplying Liberia electricity because they were in huge debt. And this government met that burden. This government had to pay off the debt. It's on the record. Had to pay a huge sum of that money before they started resupplying Liberia. So it is not any work on the part of Joseph Boyka that has caused the people of Liberia now to have more Liberians, or about right now you have about 900,000 plus Liberians have access to electricity, as opposed to 200,000 during the Unity Party regime. That's a vast difference. It shows the improvement of this government. Let's debate this issue, but the Unity Party will not want to debate the record of George Weah governing 6 years, because they know that it surpasses Unity Party 12 years. Joseph Boyka was just a simple squanderer, and so they always want to engage in lies, deception, and falsehood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me hear from Mr. Jawinkin.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Bloody, I want to just say something. I'll go back to the presidency. Weah, prior to becoming president, served as a senator. What I'm driving at is that I try to talk about the power of the presidency. Because as a senator, you can't get account of anything until you became a president. Comparing the two now, Boyka and Weah, why they should have Boyka served longer time in government, Boyka has not served as a president. So there is no question that once you become president in Liberia, you got more power to do so many things. You got more influence to do it. People call you to do this. When Weah was a senator, he became even president before he demolished a 9th Street building. I went in that building when I went for Inquiry, when he was still playing football. But he never did any renovation, he never made any changes until he became president. So the argument you guys are making about record, about somebody was serving in government before, we are also serving government before. It might not have been a longer time, but at least he served as a senator. What is a record from there as well? All these things you're talking about, he became president before he started initiating them. Was a senator? Nothing that you can point to. The other thing I wanted you to address, if you can, is that water is very important. The problem I have with Weah government is that there is no projection about anything about the needs of the Liberian people. For example, he needs to tell the Liberian people that this is what it will cost to supply water to, let's say, Monrovia, which is the capital city. It is very, very discouraging. You will agree with me that our capital building, ministry, all these places, before you use the bathroom, you got to use bucket. Why will they cost? What effort is the government making? I believe that if we are a very sincere, whoever gets the power, when you come out with a projection and says, tell the Liberian people, this is what you have to go about this project, when that is transparent, Bro J, without the international community, I think even individual Liberians can even contribute $10, $20 per month to undertake projects. But people look at Monrovia. Look at the way people look for water. The last time I was there was everywhere. Okay, forget about the people. What's about the government ministries? No water. How can you be in power? People supported we are. I kept saying it. People supported we are because they believe that we are was going to be that change. You can't build this government around yourself. Loosen out, decentralize. Where are the functions of the agency? Governance structure that is working, transparency. How much will it cost to supply water to to Monrovia? Let's say the capital city. We need to know how much the government can raise. How can it be done? So all of these things, no communication. We are highly comment on any of these things.
Thank you, Mr. Weah. Blojo, would you like
Yeah.
to respond?
Yeah. I think it's I don't know what kind of description I give it, but it's mind-boggling that people expect for George Weah to correct Liberia 200 years problem in 6 years. I mean, I don't really understand this criticism of George Weah that you got to fix everything in Liberia in 6 years. All the problem Liberia has since its founding 200 years ago. So we are sort of fix it in 6 years, then he'll be the greatest president on earth. Is it possible? No country, even the greatest America in Detroit, people are struggling for water in many parts of America as advanced as it is. How can George Weah solve all these demanding competitive problems in 6 years' time? Where will he get the resources? So he said the whole country and just give it up. Look, the criticism makes no sense. The criticism against George Weah really is far from reality. Liberian government, George Weah came to power with a very, very depressed country economically. Even the Joseph Boakai government admitted when they were leaving power that the country was in economic depression. George Weah had the first bring the country out of that depression, and then we saw coronavirus and all kinds of problems. The whole world shut down. How can George Weah make miracles? No country has developed in 6 years. No country on this earth has transformed a backward country like Liberia where nothing existed. So yes, in as much as we all want the great things to happen in Liberia, we have to be honest with ourselves. And there's a problem. This is why people are so mad against George Weah, because they are setting unreasonable standards. They are setting unreasonable, unachievable things. And so they are criticizing George Weah for their own imagination.
Thank you, Blojo.
Okay. What did he do as senator? Senator, talk about senator. What did he do?
Mr. Weah, I will come back to you. But guys, with just 0.03% of the votes remaining to be counted, it is very, from all indication, that there will be a second round. So I want you guys to tell me what will be the Unity Party strategy for the second round. How are they going to convince people that didn't vote for them or those that vote for them to vote for them again to win the presidency? And how is CDC going? What strategy is CDC going to employ to win the elections or the second round? But let me start with you, Reverend Adi. I know you've been a huge critic of the CDC administration under President George Manuel Weah. Some of the issues that you have consistently mentioned is corruption, extrajudicial killings, and just poverty and poor healthcare system. Now, Liberia went to the poll a few days ago on October 10th. And when we look at the numbers, it seems that more Liberian wants President Weah to have another 6 years than those that want Ambassador Joseph Yimam Boakai to replace him. Or why do you think that is the case? After all of these things happening that you have highlighted, why do you think that more Liberians still want him to be president for another 6 years?
Well, I certainly beg to differ with that, because the elections aren't over. We have a runoff. So the runoff will certainly make that determination. He has a slight lead, and that does not equate to more Liberians wanting him. The fact remains is that the slight remains. Go ahead.
Compared to Joseph Yimam Boakai, I'm sorry, I meant to put that in it.
Okay, so Listen, our message is very simple. Our message is very simple and quite simple in the point where Liberians have built a grassroots movement to ensure that their destiny, dreams, and aspirations are realized for the next 6 years, but not under President George Weah. They've clearly seen this government as a government of incompetence, has failed the Liberian people. We're spending more money on debt servicing to the tune of over 105 million US dollars. Our debt has increased to 1.8 billion dollars. Under this president, our money has tanked consistently due to ineptitude. Civil servants' pay has been harmonized. Liberians want change, and that is why they spoke through their leader, like Alexander Cummings, who clearly stated that our democracy is threatened. Our peace is shaken, characterized by lawlessness, proliferation of over 800 ghettos, Zogos throughout the street, insecurity. President asking us to buy CC televisions because he cannot protect us. The consistency of violence during this electoral process by seditions. We're living in a failed state, and the message is quite simple. Our strategy is intended to hold and solely protect the votes, encourage Nigerians to go out and reflect that reality.
Reverend Ade, if it is a failed state, like Jerry asked you, if it is a failed state, why then the Liberians voted more for Weah than Joseph Boakai if it is a failed state? Because it's Liberians who are feeling the pinch of the hardship you're talking about, but yet the same Liberians overwhelmingly voted for Joe Weah. Yes, we agree, the margin is very low, but yet he has more votes than Joseph Boakai, in spite of the hardship you're talking about.
Well, let's be very clear. It is a mischaracterization to use the word overwhelmingly, because as an incumbent who spent millions of dollars, as was criticized by Andreas Snyder, head of the UN mission, the proliferation of state wealth, and yet did not secure 50+1. Tells you that Liberians,
he's the head of the EU mission. The EU mission.
Yes, that is what I stated. So, yes, so that is what I stated. So for you to say, "Oh, he's done well as an incumbent," it's quite frankly embarrassing with all of the state resources disproportionately used against opposition. And yet he's at neck to neck. So I beg to differ with that characterization. But certainly Liberians will make an ultimate decision that remains to be seen. And make no mistake, the fact that he has a 0.4% lead or less doesn't certainly make him, the next president of tomorrow. So let's be clear. Our message is very simple. There are some things in our campaign that we will do differently. And because of this, the grassroots movement, the people rose up, volunteered to secure their votes. So make no mistake, in the next round, we intend to protect our votes and ensure that these elections are not just free, but they shall be fair and transparent by protecting our votes.
I'd like to stay with you, just in continuation of this question. Earlier on in the show, you were one of the panelists that agreed to the fact that in Africa politics, it is very unheard of for a political party to win the elections in the first round. Now, my concern is, how are you now using President Weah not being able to get 50% of 50% plus one of the votes as an indication of him not performing well in the elections, even though he got more votes than Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai, despite the hardship that you mentioned? How are you using that as an indication of him not performing well? I'd like to give you another 30 seconds to address that.
Thank you kindly. When you look at the state resources that he has used at the magnitude disproportionately against those opposition, you will clearly see that he should have done better. But in spite of all of that, Liberians rejected him, that they aren't ready for him to lead them for the next 6 years. And that is why, in spite of all of his resources against Joseph Yuma Boakai, he still could not succeed in securing a 50+1. Now it's a straight competition. It's two men voting against a man and a woman on the ballot. There will be no mistakes. As NEC reported, they had Mr. Appiton on the ballot twice, which I believe confused the people. So we'll be very clear. We'll ensure that the disruption of SKD Stadium as they did will not reflect the level. Will not be able to be used to disproportionately mess up the electoral process. Garrison Yellow in Saniquila, messing up the process. We'll ensure that these elections will be free and transparent. We'll check the votes. We'll count our ballots.
Thank you, Reverend Addy. Let me bring this over to you, Mr. Weir, and I want you to talk on this. You just elaborated on that on President Weir poor performance or on the state of the nation right now as far as security, as far as healthcare, as far as education is concerned. In your opinion, President Weir haven't done well, but yet and still, Liberian made a statement October 10th, and more Liberian. I'll be very specific with the number 803,956 voters. They made a statement that they want President Weir for another 6 years, despite all of the things you guys have said about him. Why do you think that is the case?
Oh, I always say that our young children are being conditioned, particularly majority of the voters in these elections. They never experienced the Civil War, or they never saw how Liberia was before we came to power. And after a while, when they grew up, there were no semblance of electricity, no semblance of water, no semblance of roads. So in the days of Weir, when they saw the little he's doing, they think it's great. In the days of Weir, riding a bike as a means of survival, they think it's great because they have no experience. They haven't been to a travel. I was talking to some, I think, few guys that work at Maritime. I got some friends in government too. And this guy told me, one of them told me that they are afraid that if we were to win, for the next 7 months, they will not take pay. One of them told me that when Seli was in power, he had a lot of opportunity of training, getting good pay, but then they barely get paid.
And Mr. Weir.
Yeah, so the reason why the children are voting for him is that they are being conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be told that, look, the life they live, it is not good. Liberia.
That's why I want to ask you a follow-up question on that particular thing you said. Now, you said they have been conditioned,
mm-hmm.
So they feel like that the little President Weir have done is actually enough. By that statement, you are agreeing that he has actually done something, regardless of how little is it. So
yes, that's what I just said.
Okay,
like,
so
instance, if you were to tell a Liberian that, they will say it's a viral menacing, but they fail to know that when I was in Newtown, I used to take 15-cent bus from Newtown to Senko to Oro to so many places.
So the question I want to ask you, can you is there you said by your statement, you're insinuating that to your knowledge, President Weir have done some things. What are some of the things that President Weir have done that Mr. Weir, let me finish the question. What are some of the things that President Weir have done during the past 5 to 6 years that you think will convince over 800,000 of eligible voters to want to make a statement to one President Weir for another 6 years, to elect him for another 6 years? What are conditions on that? What are some of the things?
There are two factors that are responsible aside from what he did. One has to be with identity, regional identity, because other people do that. Tribal identity, regional identity. So people feel that it is their time, it is their person. So whatever he does is okay. But here's what people that are telling me why they want to vote for Weir. One, they call him viral menacing. For example, like Clara Town, there was no road before. Like there's another road from Cowell Bridge coming to Balanceville. That place was deplorable. And there is a road now. So, and the other thing is that most of the children are free. The bike they are using, the thing that they're making them with, they say it's a level of freedom. And so these things are the one that like what you are saying, that people are saying that we are paying school fees. Well, what's supposed to be the role of the government? Well, because I believe that if there was a system that required children to miss certain things instead of president giving them money, but my argument, there should be a system that if a child did this, you're going to get this. But not somebody coming or using the country money to say, I'm paying your school fees. In America, nobody pay your school fees. If you apply for the stuff, you get it. Children should apply for school fees for this and that, but it should not be done in the name of an individual. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean by they are being conditioned. They are being conditioned to believing that you see, but that's not his own money. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weir. And before I come to you, Blojo, let me just let me come to you right now, and then I will take Councilor Freeman after that. Go ahead, Blojo.
Yeah, let's look at this argument. One, there's this false argument that George Weah is using state resources, and so he's supposed to win. See the self-deception and delusion in the Unity Party reasoning. The Unity Party was in power. Let's examine the facts. Today, Unity Party has no headquarters. It has no headquarters. When they were in power, they had a headquarters. That means that they were using state resources to pay for that headquarters. Today, Unity Party is struggling to have political party vehicles. But when they were in state power, every election they have brand new pickups. So the evidence shows that in power they have all of these things, all the power they have nothing. It means they were using state resources. Let's flip that to the CDC. When the cities were in opposition for every election, the CDC had a headquarters, which we still have. The CDC have vehicles. Every elections, we bought brand new pickups. So when I in state power, we had those things. The CDC flew helicopter, the campaign with helicopter for every elections. The Unity Party campaign with helicopter during election. This election, they don't have a helicopter. So who has been using state resources? The evidence cannot prove that the CDC is using state resources and pick up, because we had those things before we came to power. So the same means we used to have those things, all the power, is the same means that we have. But because Unity Party has been looting the state resources to have these things, they assume the CDC is taking the state resources. That's not true. So that's one point. The second point there is that this argument that Liberians are so dumb that their own experiences cannot inform the decision making. Liberian voters are wise. They understood that during Unity Party, there was hunger in Liberia. There will always be hunger in every country. To argue that, because people are hungry in Liberia, that means George Weah is a bad government. In New York, people are sleeping on the street. They are homeless. They are hungry. In Washington, D.C., the same thing goes on. In London, the same thing goes on. So in every country, you have hungry people. You have some kind of people. Liberian voters understand that George Weah cannot fix Liberia in 6 years. So they are not buying the negative propaganda. So this argument that, George Weah is so terrible because people are sleeping. Lex and Jawika was talking about some of the roast issues. If I'm living in my community for 12 years, Unity Party was in power and there was no community rules. Take, for example, in Ganta right now, to move from Ganta to go to Sanikode, it was costing people $3,000+ Liberian dollars. $3,000+ as a result of the road that George Weah has built. The price from Ganta tools Sanikode now is 300 Liberty. So look at that great difference. Why would some people in our area not be happy to vote for George Weah? You are telling the Liberian people that should be stupid and should not vote when their lives is improving and they don't expect what George Weah to do. Or let's look at Foya. Somebody want to talk about tribalism. The people in Foya voted against Joseph Boakai, their own hometown, their own kingsman from Foya. Or they voted against Joseph Boakai and voted for George Weah because they have seen development in Foya that did not exist. So people are saying the Liberian people should be so unreasonable and so insane that experiencing this kind of development, they should ignore it and all of hatred, vote against George Weah. The people say, no, we're not going to vote on hatred. We will not hate George Weah because George Weah did not create this condition this country in. He's trying to solve the problem. He's already rescuing us from the problem that Joseph Boakai and Unity Party created. He's already fixing the problem. And so we give you another chance. This is George Weah, third time defeating Joseph Boakai. In 2011, he did it twice. He's done it again. And 1 + 1 is always equal to Joseph Boakai will be defeated again by George Weah.
Thank you very much, Blojo Chopichala. I have a question for you though. Why it is true that President Weah is in the lead, and it's likely that he will win president. He will win Ambassador Boakai in the first round. It is also true that this is a very close race. And if you if you govern the country or you lead the country for the last 5 to 6 years in a way that is satisfactory to the Liberian people, I don't think this race will be that close. If people will make a statement that this is what we want, and like you said, our lives have improved, which even though we don't expect him, like you said, to do everything, but at least he's doing something, the race will not be this close. So this is also an indication that more people want you out of there. They want you replaced, that you're not doing your job. So how would you respond to that?
No. Again, like I see saying, for anybody to imagine that the race will not be close, then that person have not studied Liberian politics all the last several years. The country, like I said, the Buddha maturing, the country is divided. Unity Party was an incumbent for 12 years in power. It gave a lot of people jobs. A lot of people were in civil service. A lot of people were in the private sector, contract, everything. They have a huge following. To dismiss that reality, and the CDC is aware of that. We acknowledge that reality, and so we don't look at the Unity Party and Joseph Boakai as only Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party trying to deceive themselves that people are magically coming to Unity Party to support them. No, most of the people who in Unity Party and the way they speak about George Weah is based on their hatred because they have lost free crash card. They are mad that they don't have free government vehicle again. They are mad because they don't have free crash card. They are mad because they don't have free gasoline, and so they are angry with George Weah.
You don't have to. You don't have. I will stay with you. You don't have to study Liberian politics to know the margin between Joseph Yema Boakai or know the history of the elections between Unity Party and CDC. George Weah can only be judged for the past 5 to 6 years on his performance. And if we look back to 2017, the margin was way greater. 38. I'm looking at the numbers here. 38 to 28. You won him in the first round, but this one is just 0.41%. That is a huge indication that a lot of people want you out of there, that you haven't done your job as a president. That's what I'm asking.
No, I disagree. Look, the propaganda for the Unity Party.
Allow me to finish. You can disagree, but Liberian people will say numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. If you have done such an excellent job as you're saying, why is it that just under 0.41%, under half a percent of people that actually want you to go for another 6 years? Over 700,000 Liberian of the 2.4 million people that registered to vote, over 700,000 don't want you there. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, again, like I said, you're misunderstanding the Liberian voter. Again, like I said that. We understand that a government that was in power for 12 years has following. And the anxiety to come back has led them to deceive a whole lot of people with lies and propaganda. And so some people in the population has bought in the propaganda because most importantly, they have families. The Unity Party people, other party, they have families, they have friends, they have many people, and there are other people who naturally wants to have a piece of the cake. So we don't expect. So we don't expect for George Weah to have the same numbers he had in the last elections. We expect the race to be competitive. But one thing we are convinced about at the end of the day, the majority of Liberians will make the right decision, and that right decision will favor George Weah. So we did not expect this to be an easy ride.
Let me come to Reverend Adi now if you have any rebuttal. But I'm coming to Reverend Adi on this. But numbers don't lie, Blow J. And no matter how you spin it, it's almost like the voters are running back to the past, to Unity Party, because you have this close of a race from a key opposition or political party, especially one that was in power for 12 years. It seems that more people are running back to the past. They're preferring CDC, they prefer Unity Party over CDC, and that is not my opinion. That's what the numbers are indicating. But let me hear from you, Reverend Adi.
And Derek, additionally, President, we have graded the Unity Party government 80%.
Thank you very much. Let's now hear from Reverend Adi, and then I will take Councilor Freeman to erect some legal checkpoints as we head to this roundup. Likely who for a roundup. Reverend Adi, go ahead.
Well, certainly, Derek, I couldn't appreciate the fact that you've really stated that numbers don't lie, and this is the modus operandi of the seditions, and that's why I call them the coalition of deception and corruption. For a president who built 48 houses, and Blue Jay is here normalizing poverty. It's normal. People in America, they are poor. People in Europe, they are poor. They will be poor always. Then why did you take the job? For a president who squandered his personal wealth, quite frankly, as a footballer, and now went to run as a senator, and everybody knows he was broke. But he came to power in the first few months of his presidency, broke down his house on 9th Street and reconstructed it into a mansion, built 48 houses, squander our resources consistently, leaves the country, rides private jets, enjoys his life. And then Blow J say it's normal for us to be poor because, you know, hey, poverty will always be among us. We cannot fix this country in 4 years. Then why did you apply for the job, Blow J? Let's be very clear. You have increased our debt with nothing to show. $1.8 billion with nothing to show. And you're telling us that it's normal to be poor because we'll always be poor among us? Come on, Blow J. Liberia doesn't work like that. And you think when you pay the WIAC school fees, and please tell us, what infrastructure significantly have you constructed? Go to Monrovia today. An EU representative stated Liberia is one of the filthiest cities in the world. You got a young boy who, you know, who claimed to have gone to LU, running the city that is stench. I mean, living in stench, filthiness, a complete degeneration of our healthcare system, poor quality education, and you think it's normal? Your president is doing well. That is why the numbers don't lie. You know, you can spin all you want. Liberians are suffering in our country. You've harmonized our civil servant salaries. They have to make ends meet, and you think it's normal. Human beings are being held hostage at JFK because they can't pay their bills. Pregnant mothers have to look for people. Go ask Magdala Cooper. She will tell you a story. Ask the ordinary Liberians. There's a man I listened to in Lofa who said if we gave George Weah the next 6 years, ants will not have food to eat in this country anymore. Do you think these stories are different? Our economy is deteriorating. This is real. We are at a critical juncture. Was Mr. Cummings making a mistake? Was Tiawan Gongo wrong when he said Liberia is in an ICU and it needs to be rescued? This is serious, Blow J. So you can do all you can to spin that the real hardship are the expression of the Liberian people. Make no mistake, come next few days, Liberians have a critical decision to make, a decision between poverty and prosperity. And probably George Weah may not be that chance, no matter how much you guys try to spin it.
Thank
Numbers
you.
don't lie.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let's go over to you, Councillor Freeman. I know you've been sitting for quite a while. I'm sorry about that. And now let me turn this over to you. So as the results are just 0.03% left to be announced, and is from all indication we will be heading to a second round between the Unity Party and CDC. Now, as Liberians look forward to that, in the midst of that, some political institutions are flagging some discrepancy that they observe in the election during the elections process. What legal advice or what legal knowledge would you like to share with our audience as far as elections discrepancy and also going forward to the second round? And also, if you can talk to us about how can political institutions, what role can political institutions, Liberians, or voter population, and also political leaders play in maintaining the peace that we've been having so far? Councillor Freeman.
Well, thank you, Derek. I think it's good to listen to the political surrogates. In terms of the discrepancy or the alleged discrepancies, what I would urge people to do, I believe all the political parties have their lawyers. The black letter of the Constitution is clear as to what needs to happen. If you have issue with the results, they need to adhere to that provision. I can't say much about that, except that if you truly have, a cause of action, then, just basically point to the law and then follow the requirements and do what needs to happen. And then encourage the members to sort of be patient and let the process play out. In terms of the percentages between the two key political establishments, the CDC and the UP, the Liberian people have spoken. What I would like to say about that, and I think it's a good segue into your next point in terms of what the institution should do. What I think is the root causes, the root causes of the problem in Liberia, if not addressed properly, we are going to continue to have the problem we have today, right? There are root causes that no matter what political party or candidate you put there, the root causes still exist. And because the root causes are not being addressed, regardless of who you put there, you'll still have some of the problems we have today. So, for example, you guys started a conversation earlier with regards to the people who were unseated from the legislative branch of government. Those guys were taken out, and some of the same caliber of people were elected into the House and also the Senate. That's the fundamental problem I'm talking about. There are root causes. You change one senator, you change one representative, you put a different one there, but you're still not addressing the root causes. So, for example, we're talking about the fact that our infrastructure is completely ruined in Liberia, and yet you have a senator making nearly $15,000 a month, plus benefits, plus a free vehicle. And regardless of who you put there, that problem still exists. That senator is still making that same amount of money. That representative still makes the same amount of money. What I found puzzling during the election, all of the new guys who were running for office, not one of them said, I'm going to put forward a bill to reduce our salaries. Not one. And yet these individuals are saying that they're seeking the welfare of the Liberian people. You can reconcile that. So those are some of the root causes I'm talking about. There are fundamental issues that we need to address in Liberia in order for us to truly, deal with some of the institutional, systemic problems we have in the country in terms of infrastructure, the lack in everything. You cannot single-handedly blame one government because those things have been existing for a very long time. Notwithstanding, the buck stopped with the current government, the current administration. But no matter what we do, whether we change the CDC or put the UP there are root causes to Liberia's problem, if not properly addressed. From the foundation upward, we will continue to have the same problems we have in Liberia. And so, my approach is not a legal one. I don't think this is a matter of legality. This is a matter of understanding what the problems are and trying to, address those problems. The voters themselves have the power to address some of the problems in Liberia through a means of referendum. So we see what happens. I listened to my dad's good friend, Barney Shimon, after he lost his seat. Mr. Councillor Shimon realizes that there's an identity politics in Liberia only after he lost the election. That's one of the problems we're having. When in fact he had an obligation to educate the people about his role in the Senate. Those are some of the root causes of the problem that, if not properly addressed, the problem continues to persist in Liberia. Derek, I don't think I can hear you speaking. Go ahead. You're on.
Yeah, I was filtered. I'm sorry. But again, thank you very much, Councillor Freeman, Reverend Adi, Bloje Choppy Charlie, Mr. Weird, and my co-host, David Tarkway. We will take a break. When we come back, and I will take you guys closing remark. And I know you're not going to be here for that, Mr. Freeman. So I'd like to say thank you again for coming on and this episode. But for now, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will talk to our panelists for their closing remarks.
At Fatu's, we know what it's like to feel a little homesick. That's why we work hard to bring you the very best and freshest imported foods and supplies from home. With quality design African cloths, beauty supplies, and tasty African food items, you'll feel right at home. So what are you waiting for? Stop by Fatu's African International Market for all of your household and family needs. See you soon.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you again for staying with us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network, bringing to you episode 7, season 4 of the Horizon. We are almost at the end. We just have our closing remark, and then we will bring you the icebreaker round first, and then the closing remark. So while I look for the icebreaker question, I would like to encourage all of you to please share this program on your Facebook page and also make sure to follow this network on. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. So the icebreaker question. Hearing or feedback?
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you there.
I'm sorry. Yes. So the icebreaker question we have for this episode is looking back at elections from your perspective. What could you have changed to make the election process better? So, what could you individually have hoped to be changed, or what could you have changed to make the elections process better? Let me hear from you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weah.
Why could I have changed
to make the elections process better?
Okay. I think what needed to be done was to allow early days of voting, especially for the rural people. So I would have changed the one-day voting system, especially for the rural communities. So that will give room either a week as a early voting prior to the day of the election. So I would love to have had that in this going election.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. We are Blue Choppy Charlie. What would you have changed?
Well, there are many things, but two quick things come to my mind. From observing the polls in Nima County, one of the things that I thought questioned the elections, but that's the rules that was applied, is that the poll watcher was not really observing the electoral process. They were just sitting in the room.
Wow.
The distance between the poll watcher and the NEC official who are verifying the voter ID card and the voter roll, the poll watcher could not see what was going over there. They were sitting far away, and somebody will come to the election worker, give the ID card. He opens a big book, look there, where the person's name was there, the person's name was not there, check something and get. So the poll watcher has no way of knowing whether it was an actual person voter card in the hand, and they actually check, then that person will come back or go to somewhere else. And so we saw that in Nima County, the CDC did not make any impact. That's where the majority of the Unity Party vote came from. And we saw many places where CDC, in fact, in Saniquote, the magistrates stopped the CDC or poll watcher from entering the building after the ballot was carried. And a lot of things went on in Nima County. So the poll watcher situation actually needs to be readjusted for the second round, because the fact is many people who are working in elections commission have been working there and were hired during the Unity Party time, the supervisor elections all across the country. So at one point, the second thing, the ballot itself.
Okay, did you understand the question?
You said two things I would like to change.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So one, I'm saying the poll watcher process between the poll watcher and the elections worker. They have to see a place where the poll watcher can see what is happening. Because they're just sitting down, they're not really seeing. The second thing is the ballot. I think the ballot should be numbered. The ballots are not numbered from 1 to whatever number. So I'm campaigning all day, number two. The ballot man campaigning all day, number 18. But when a voter goes to mark the ballot, you just see a long list. I think that's one of the problems that causes this Appleton effect, or some other people to get some vote. Because now I can see the number that has been taught to vote for who is that president. It has to be checking, and it's easy to make mistakes.
Thank you very much, Brother Choppy Charlie and Reverend Addy. Looking back at elections from your perspective, what could you have changed to make the elections process better?
Well, certainly I wouldn't have the president's ex-girlfriend as head of the ex-girlfriend, the girlfriend as head of the commission. That's the first thing.
Why you gotta be like this, right?
Well, and I would certainly love to have seen a competent government fund the national elections to its fullest in keeping with the law. I would certainly like to have seen voters' education given ample time. I certainly love to have seen the correction on the ballot, where people voted. I mean, where Mr. Appleton's name had a duplicitous appearance that perhaps further confused voters. You know, I would certainly like to see an entire revamping of the National Elections Commission with people who are competent and know how to do the work. So that insinuation that many of them were replaced by, I mean, were there placed there by the Unity Party, then we may as well also be very skeptical healthily that, you know, the president has an individual who has very close affinity, according to George Solo. You know, so that is healthy suspicion, and clearly I wouldn't like for her to be over the commissioner anymore.
Thank you very much. And guys, if you're watching us, you can leave us your contribution in the comment section. What you could have changed in your perspective based on your knowledge on or experience on elections in Liberia to make the elections process better. We've come to the point where we have to ask you guys for your closing remark on this episode, and I would like to start with you, Mr. Jarwinkin Weah, and we will go to a debate between United Party and CDC right after that. So,
okay, thank you guys. Thank you, Derek.
45 seconds because
45 seconds. Okay.
1 minute 45 seconds, as you can see. Here.
Okay. Thank you, my fellow Liberians. First of all, I would like to say thank you for participating in the October 10 elections. But that was the beginning of the process. It is obvious that you have to vote for the second time. When I used to talk here, I talk about a Kennedy, but that Kennedy is no longer in the race. Tiawonse Ganglo. But here is the point. You have two Kennedys. President Weah, who is now president, and Joseph Boakai, who is now former vice president. But here is what I want you to understand. There is a difference serving in a different position in government than serving as a president. Of the two men, Weah has already served as president. Joseph Boakai hasn't. Weah also served as a senator. So it means that he served in the government too. So if your analysis was based on somebody serving in government, then it will be fair to hold Weah also accountable when he was senator. What did he do? But Liberia at this point need a leader and a manager. Does Weah have the characteristic of a leader of a manager? A leader is the one with a vision. A manager is the one who provides the resources and make sure that they are utilized properly. So we need that for this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jarwinkin Weah, for always giving your contribution here on the High Zone. Now, let me take you, Reverend Adi. Give us your closing remark on this episode.
To my brothers and sisters of ANC, the Honorable Alexander Cummings was very clear. Our democracy is threatened, our peace is shaky. To my brothers and sisters of Tiawan Gongolo, he stated that Liberia is in the ICU. In the words of Joseph Boyka, we're encouraged to think Liberia, love Liberia, built Liberia. In these coming days that are soon coming, it's important to understand that your vote will make a crucial decision, a decision that defines whether or not you live in poverty for the next 6 years or an opportunity to enjoy prosperity under the leadership of Joseph Yuma Boyka. He wants to say thank you to all of you who voted, but the fight is not over. Alexander Cummings stated that change is knocking our doors. Change is certainly knocking 30 days away from our doors. Do not give up the fight. If you're tired with the fact that you have to live in iron gates behind your homes for fear and lack of security, then Joseph Boyka is the man. You must choose to relieve that fear. If you're tired looking at a filthy city, then Joseph Boyka is the change you can believe in. If you're tired of your salaries being harmonized, Joseph Boyka is the person you can believe in. If you're tired of the very fact that our hospitals are being degraded and education is at an all-time low in quality, Joseph Boyka is the vision you can believe in. And that is why we want you to think Liberia, love Liberia, build Liberia on a very simple 4 policies. Arrest. We want to invest in agriculture. want to build proper roads for you, want to give you quality education, we want to clean your city. We want our market women, our parents can be able to send their children to school on an atmosphere of peace, stability, where you don't have to live as individuals waking up only to find food, as
Thank
if
you.
to say your livelihood is reduced to that reality. Give us a chance to make a change. And that truth is in none other but the iconic Joseph Human Boyk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. Now let's move to you, Bloody Choppy Charlie. Give us your closing remark on this episode.
Yeah, my closing remarks will begin from a final point that the lawyer made. He talks about the root causes of Liberia problem. And once the root causes are not addressed, whatever leader comes into power will still face these challenges. And I couldn't agree with him more when he cites the legislature as an example. And we see that the kind of candidate the Unity Party fed shows their deception about fighting corruption or the deception about changing the country. They have supported almost the same people who have fleeced the state, who have looted the state. They supported a guy like Alex Tyler, who is called Corruption King Kong. That tells you the mentality of Unity Party coming to power. If you see the people who have been running the campaign, a guy like Brandon Samaga, who was guilty for stealing the military money. So Unity Party is only mad because they want to come back to power and steal, because as we see now, they don't have a party headquarters. They were depending on government money in the past to pay for a party headquarters. As we see now, they don't have vehicles to run the campaign because they stole government money in the past. They were riding these vehicles. As we see now, they don't have money to charter a helicopter. They were stealing government money to fly a helicopter. So they want to come back and steal from the state, loot the state to enjoy this immunity. 4 years where Joseph Boakai come from has answered the question. Looking at the development that George Weah has done and looking at Joseph Boakai, Unity Party government failing to carry development into 4 years, rejected Joseph Boakai and voted for George Weah. Liberians need to follow the people of 4 years. Prince Johnson own hometown in Noah Zogwe rejected Prince Johnson for war crimes because he murdered people in his country. All Liberians need to follow the example of these people and continue. George Weah should be re-elected for the next 6 years.
Thank you, Bloody Choppy Charlie, for your contribution here on the High Zone as always. Now let me go over to my co-host, Mr. David Tarkwell. Let me hear from you, and then I will take a break. After that, I will bring you the announcement and then enjoy the curtain to this episode. Mr. Tarkwell, give us your closing on this episode.
Yeah, it was an exciting episode. Our panelists did extremely well in dealing with the issues. At least everyone expressed their views and gave their positions on the issues as they feel about them. Because it is obvious that one's views on issue depends on where they sit and with whom they sit. Those on the CDC talk for the city, those from the Unity Party will always talk for the Unity Party. And that's a good game.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Tarkwell, and it's always a pleasure having you here, moderating and hosting this show. And guys, Mr. Weah, Reverend Addy, Bloody Choppy Charlie, I'd like to say thank you.
Bloody, I see you soon.
Thank you for your
pretty soon. Yeah, definitely tracks.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys.
Choppy, good to see you, man. Choppy.
I mean, the beating coming, the real beating. Now we hear y'all.
Reverend Addy, please call me.
0.4.
I guess
it will be 50.4%. It will not be too bad.
Choppy, hopefully I would have bought another house to keep an apartment there for you.
Reverend Addy, call me.
Yes, sir.
Please call me.
Text me. Send me your number. Inbox me on Facebook. I don't have the number, please. Or put it in the chat group.
All right, guys. That's it.
Put in the chat room.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. If you're watching us, this is what the Hard Zone is about. We have just our announcement segment. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the announcements, and then we'll bid you a pleasant good evening. But for now, let's take a break.
Hey there. Many Liberians are members of social clubs, 501c NGOs, and school alumni. Many Liberians are trying to open their own 501c NGOs, home care agencies, and social clubs. Does your organization have a professional website? Does your web platform have the right wording and content to attract grants? Hopefully you're not running your organization only through social media. There's a more professional route. You need an online space where you can craft a positive message about your organization, making your home health agency more credible, which will increase your chances to receive grants. We'll build you a responsive platform for 501c organizations, healthcare agencies, and other types of organizations. We'll provide you with full website maintenance, membership sign-in, private charts, Facebook and WhatsApp integration, live video feed for all your meetings and special occasions, a dashboard for members to see all the activities, and email and text auto reminders for meetings. We'll build with donors and 501c's in mind, and will help you solicit grants and automatic membership due collections. Building you this amazing platform will only be a membership fee of $19 a month. Call or email us now. Let's upgrade your website. Home health agencies and small businesses, you owe it to your company to project the best image possible, and we can make it happen. Visit www.tiamit.com or call 215-966-8679. Ask for Tommy.
Hi, my name is Theophilus Jilipa Nelson I. I am the founder and CEO of Lift Africa LLC. Lift Africa started as an employment agency that sought the employment of immigrants coming to the U.S. and finding ways and means to go to start life in this great your country. Now we have added airport pickups and drop, car rental, hall rental. As you see, we have a new business location. Started with just a little office part, but today we have a whole complex that we can do a lot of stuff with.
Hello everyone, my name is Geneva Kreitz. I'm the Executive Administrator of Uplift Africa. We have an excellent employment rate at our company. We work with and for you regardless of your situation. If you've ever been in prison, maybe your background isn't great, do not worry. We have a place for you here. We believe in equal opportunity for everyone, especially you. So sign up today and begin earning.
My name is Emmanuel B. Horton, Operational Director for Live Africa. Live Africa is the place to be.
Hi, my name is Martha Tombe, owner of Matisia Natural Hair Salon, located on 4405 Chestnut Street. We are specializing in locks, natural hair, braids, and etc. Calls for all your natural hair needs. You can reach out at 267-703-2330. If you have pictures or videos you want to send us, you can send it to 267-224-0693.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for staying with us this far. We just have one announcement from our announcement folder, and then we will draw the curtain to this episode. Again, this is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek, and I'm joined by my co-host, David Tarkwe. I will just now move over to Mr. Tarkwe so he can give us the one announcement we have, and then we will draw the curtain to this episode. But again, thank you very much for staying with us. Mr. Tarkwe, you're muted.
This announcement comes from the Philadelphia Association of Zambians, Cultural African Zambian Independence Celebration. The date is Saturday, October 21st. And the time is 6 p.m. Venue 2755 Philadelphia Avenue, Suite 120. What's as again? Tickets for adults will be sold at $50. And Darren, I think you can go ahead and read it. I think I'm having problem with saying. Okay, ticket for adults is LA Bird is $50. At the door is $60. Children 12 and under $5. Pay using Cash App, Zelle, or venue on 610-310-8390. PayPal at cheapo189@botmail.com. Food and drinks included. Limited spots. So this is the only announcement we have there. Derek, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. That's the only announcement we have in our announcement folder. And guys, if you're watching us, thank you so much for staying this far, right to the very end of the hard zone. But please don't forget to join us again next week, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will bring you another episode. But until then, make sure to follow this network. We'll bring you regular events in Liberia, as far as in the political arena. So if you follow the network, we'll bring you a lot of different events, including the elections or national elections, announcing the results, and other activities around Liberia. We'll bring you some very special interviews. So LRTN is the place to be. It's a network to follow on Facebook and YouTube, and you will be updated on all of the events happening in Liberia. Until then, guys, I'm here with my co-host, David Tarkwa, and my name is Derek Yale. Until we see you next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. At this point, I would like to wish you all a pleasant good night.
Then Netflix speak out a song. Yeah, I got money that's sunny. I'm a fall down to see someone Friday. But anything in the world I can make me to laugh. When I look at my country, I laugh. When I look at Jimmy, I laugh. When I look at story, I laugh. I can laugh just like hero. I can laugh just like Batman. I can laugh just like Zero. I can laugh just like Gaman. Kiki, I just laugh. 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 Fancy love me calling all taking breath. She know English, she know math. She not able to draw common graph. And I asked she just end up. She's been 12 years in UL, fan row, spin up. And the man said she go away. That to say that I ain't inclined not to learn but to grind. But the teacher can say it. She not talking in time, she still acting high. I will take it on more hand. When they pay, I will pass and say to my one hand. Over Jonah can make me to laugh, but he paying good money, don't take up my blast. That's in that can make me to laugh when they eat a guapo when they're not in a jazz. People funny next zero. I thought for joke, yeah, but they tell you not zero. Kiki, I just laugh. Kiki, I just laugh.